a double-sized washing machine. What are you laughing at?
Why?
Why are you laughing?
You've only got half-size clothes.
If there's a bustle in your hedgerow, don't be alarmed now. It's just the two mics flicking through tomorrow's papers.
What are you doing in my shrubbery, you dirty little...
Nocturnal stirrings from the night garden of sporting news with Mike, Ninky Nonk Graham and Mike, Pinky Ponk Parry on Talk Sport. If you're up with a baby, you'll get it.
Look at the light!
I don't know why I bother us.
I don't know why you bother either. This is TalkSport. We are the two Mikes, and it's time to say a very good morning for the first show of the week to Mr. Mike Porky Parry. Mr. Parry, very good morning to you.
Yeah, very good morning to you, Mike. When you say very good morning, I mean, we mean that in context, don't we? In context of what happened in Paris on Friday night, when you and I could only make a delayed reaction to the horror that was unfolding in the French capital because, of course, at the time we were on stage in Birmingham.
Well, I remember very clearly after we finished and, maybe 20 minutes had gone by, we'd gone back to the dressing room, you came out and we were talking, we were going to go and have a drink and meet everybody and sign some things, and you said, have you seen what's happened in Paris? And I hadn't seen it.
No, I hadn't seen it.
Because I hadn't checked the news, I hadn't checked my phone, and I couldn't actually believe what you were telling me.
Somebody came up to me and said 40 people are dead in Paris, and that's horrendous enough.
Yeah.
That turned out to be only about 25% of the total casualty, so it was truly horrific. But the old, the game must go on spirit, I'm delighted to say, has prevailed, obviously, for tomorrow night's game. And then in the long term...
Well, it has for England, but it hasn't for Belgium against Spain, which I suppose is a different kettle of fish altogether.
I totally agree. There is an issue here about the continent and the Schengen agreements that we're not in, and Great Britain, because all the experts. I'm not an expert on terrorism, but all the expert
we're
pieces,
going to be talking to one coming up a little bit later.
All the expert pieces I've been reading over the last 2 or 3 days says that because the borders are now down on continental Europe, the movement of weapons is much, much easier. The sort of weapons used by terrorists to go around and mass murder people.
Movement of weapons, movement of people.
Movement of people.
People smuggling is increased.
But in particular, you'll remember that the German, the Belgian authorities apparently came upon movement of arms, 3 or 4 guns in a car moving from Belgium through and Germany into France, and that none of this was connected towards a terrorist assault and all this kind of stuff. And you have to say to yourself, the level of security at 2016 after this is going to have to be very, very high indeed, because as we all know, the reasons that these horrendous people go into places like concert halls and, of course, football stadia is because what is, meat and wine to them in terms of the pursuit of mass terror is to find a small area with thousands of people in it. And that represents sports stadiums, concert halls.
But it's also more invidious than
underground railway stations and all this kind of stuff.
But this is why it's even more invidious than that, because not only does that suit their MO, as you say, but it's also what they want to do, because they don't like sport. In Islamic State there is no sport. In Islamic State there is no music. In Islamic, so anything that the Western people basically involve themselves in enjoying,
shopping,
they want to destroy it.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah,
which is frightening, really.
Yeah, of course it is. Yeah, of course it is. And it's very difficult to know how to react. But there was a chap over the weekend who was roundly condemned for pointing out that more people die on the roads in France in a year than died in these massacres. And actually what he was saying, because I read again what he said, is that the purpose of terror is to kill a lot of people at once because it makes it seem so horrendous. That's the purpose of flying aeroplanes into buildings, that sort of thing.
And it was also to make people stop doing certain things that they would otherwise normally do.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. The terrorists have won when you stay at home. When you don't go to a football match and you stay at home, you've succeeded in some way. One question I want to put to an expert who we've got coming on the show, why can't we just flood the roads around Wembley tomorrow with the British Army, who are men trained to take up weapons and kill people who are threatening the lives of citizens?
Well, it may well be that there's logistical reasons why that can't happen. It may well be that,
I can't think of one myself.
The other thing I suppose the other thing that you might say that terrorists want is to make everything kind of grind to a halt. Like, for example, after the shoe bomber episode, do you remember where everybody was taking their shoes off? Well, it just meant everybody was taking their shoes off.
That's right.
And it meant that the queues for security were much longer.
Yeah.
It didn't stop people flying, but it did make it a much less enjoyable experience. And flying has never been enjoyable now since all of that stuff happened.
No, I agree.
And if it meant that you had to go to a football match to be searched or go through, security arches, so far down Wembley Way, that it made it almost impossible to get there. Do you know what I mean? I mean,
sure.
The logistics of trying to organise all of that might just be too much to do.
Yeah, well, maybe. I mean, if there's any positives out of what happened the other night, the one that I've read, having read as much as I possibly could about the horrendous developments in France, is that 3 suicide bombers blew themselves up outside the Stade de France.
Because they couldn't get in.
They couldn't get in and didn't kill anybody.
Right.
So, effectively, you can put barriers up at football grounds to stop people like that getting in.
Right.
Which is the only encouraging sign of the whole of the horrors of the other night.
Yeah.
So.
And perhaps if they can make sure that the inside... This is one of the things that happened as well, because as people were starting to worry about what was going on...
That's right.
They did the right thing and kept them inside the stadium.
That's right, absolutely.
Because it was actually safer inside the stadium.
Of course,
so if they can make that the case, I suppose, for all of these... But you have to rethink the idea of fan zones. You have to rethink the idea of having thousands of people in other parts of the city.
Of course you do. Of course you do. It's all of that. And it's so difficult to know how to react. But, I mean, isn't it wonderful that the world reacted so positively, the free world, that is.
Yeah.
So soon after the horrors, you saw all the tricolour colours of the French flag displayed on buildings around the world. And that is a gesture of solidarity from the free world.
Yeah.
Do whatever you want. We won't buckle in the face of it.
Yeah.
So it is truly horrendous. And the other thing that I thought was maybe one positive that came out of it was I saw a picture of President Obama and Mr. Putin in earnest conversations with their heads just a couple of feet away from each other. And I thought, well, if you guys are now taking it seriously like that, perhaps you can stop going into places like Syria with different objectives and have one purposeful mission on how to stop and eventually eradicate terrorist attacks.
Yeah, but the great difficulty is, and people talk about, and I don't particularly want to get into this debate with you right here about, what should be done and what couldn't be done and all the rest of it. But, some people have said, can we not just go in and wipe out ISIS, on the ground? And the answer to that is, well, it's a bit late for that because all of these people who are committing most of these atrocities are already in Europe. They're already here.
Oh, yes, absolutely. But not only that, you could wipe out maybe 2,000 people who are identified as ISIS members, and there'd be another 2,000 the following morning to take their place. Yeah. So it's not, I don't know what sort of a strategy that is. I don't know. I think, it's a long, drawn-out philosophy, this, about sort of getting to the heart of it and cutting out the cancer that creates it and all that kind of stuff. I don't know. It's a very long and philosophical debate.
Yeah.
Problem is, what we want to try and do is stop evil people making evil attacks on innocent people.
Yeah, exactly right. We'll be talking about all of that. We'll be talking to a man called Max Abrams, who's Assistant Professor of Political Science at Northeastern University, a bit of a terrorism expert. He'll be coming up. We will be doing lots of other things. We've got winners and losers coming up a little bit later on in the show as well. And we've got to talk a little bit, I suppose, Mike, about the show we did on Friday night in Birmingham, which was quite a success.
So great to see everybody in Birmingham. Thank you very much indeed for coming along. It was a tremendous response, the biggest theatre we've done.
Yeah.
Well over 500 people in that theatre, and it was marvellous to see so many people afterwards as well who stayed around, had a drink, and we launched our new DVD. Which,
strangely enough, and I don't want to sound too kind of self-serving about this, but I read a piece today in one of the papers about how not just football grounds, but also now, theatres, nightclub venues, that kind of thing, could actually end up being having to be much better protected as well. Because one of the reasons why the Bataclan was attacked, they say, or that it was able to be attacked in the way that it was, is it's much easier to get people, smuggled into a rock venue than it is to get into a football stadium.
Of course it is.
And a bizarre sort of strange
thing, through a turnstile.
The Lords of Death Metal, the band that were playing, had previously been playing at a garage in Glasgow.
Good God.
Which is obviously where we're going
next.
We're
going on December the 5th, yeah. Wow, that's a bit of a spooky coincidence,
isn't it? Yeah. So I mean, a lot of things might change, but I mean, as ever with these things, the British people are pretty resilient, the French people are pretty resilient.
I would say
so. But when you see, when I saw yesterday, last night, there was like a false alarm, somebody thought there was another shooter on the street, and there's mass panic happened.
Trampling across the flowers outside the restaurant where they laid them all.
Just awful.
Well, it is awful. And the other thing is, although we know that there's a definitive number of dead, when you think that there are 41 people critically injured, thankfully that's been reduced from 90 down to 41 people dead. I mean, don't be under any illusions about what the critical state of the injuries could be. Lost limbs, horrendously...
Well, because the kind of weapons these guys have.
Oh, just horrendous. When a bullet of that magnitude goes through a human body, it takes a third of the body with it and all this kind of stuff. You know, if you get, in a Western film, if you get shot in the shoulder by a cowboy or something like that, but in a modern day weapon, if you get a bullet in the shoulder, it takes your shoulder off and your collarbone and your arm, probably. It's just horrendous.
Yeah. Dreadful stuff. We'll be talking about all of this, and of course, we'll welcome calls from you as well if you wish. 08717 223344. Max Abrams, Assistant Professor of Political Science and a terrorism expert, is coming up next on TalkSport.
On DAB, digital radio and 1089 and 1053 AM. Bosh Bosh, Zoom Zoom, Wallop.
And it's in!
Talk Sport.
This is Talk Sport. We are the two Mikes. There will be a podcast coming out a little bit later on, of course. We've been talking at the start of the show about the recent developments in the football story regarding what happened in Paris over the weekend. The Belgium against Spain game has now been cancelled on the advice of security experts who say that they cannot guarantee the safety of either the players or the fans. The England-France game does go ahead tonight, of course, and it'll be a very significant game, not just because of the events of the weekend, but because it will be some kind of show of solidarity with the French. The French players obviously very upset by everything that's happened. Football suddenly under attack in a way which it's never really been before. And obviously we're not minimising what happened in France by saying that football is under attack, but football is one of the many things under attack by Islamic State because they don't think sport is something that people should be doing. We're going to talk now to an expert, Mike, called Max Abrams, who's been on the show before, terrorism expert. He's from Northeastern University. He's an active member of the Council of Foreign Relations. Max, a very good morning to you.
Hi, good to be with you.
Yeah, thanks very much indeed for joining us. Terrible, obviously, events that we witnessed. The fallout is still happening. The French Air Force have been bombing parts of ISIS and trying to disable it. We've seen lots of political activity over the last 24 hours. I guess the question to ask, Max, is how long are we expecting this to go on for?
How long are you expecting the French response to be?
No. How long are we expecting this kind of situation that we are facing? I.e., we never really know when the next attack is going to be. We never really know in which country it's going to be, which football stadium or theatre or restaurant is going to be targeted. I mean, this kind of sense of fear that's been created.
Sure, I don't. I'm not an optimist on this one. I don't see any end in sight for sure. Basically, what's going on is that Islamic State is being weakened in Iraq and in Syria. And there's a real paradox because as the group is getting attrited and bombed and losing members, even losing territory in some key battles, the group seems to be becoming more international. And as it wages these attacks, as it has over the past couple of weeks in Lebanon and in Turkey and France and maybe in the Sinai, the group appears to be stronger than ever, and in some ways it is in terms of its reach. And so I think that we're going to continue to see more of this. I think that the group is going to continue to get crushed in Iraq and in Syria. There will be real gains made there, but the group will realize that in order to survive, it essentially needs to reinvent itself. It needs to become more decentralized and to commit more terrorist attacks rather than partake in this insurgency to try to create the caliphate. I think that their dream of the caliphate is over, but now we're going to see increased global attacks.
Max, can you tell me if there's a difference between intelligence gathering in France, obviously this massive attack wasn't picked up, and intelligence gathering in Great Britain and America, who, of course, have been NATO partners for so many years when the French didn't want to get involved?
So I think part of your question has to do with whether other countries are equally at risk as what happened in Paris. And I think, unfortunately, the answer is yes. We're all at risk, especially in democracies. The reality is that it's very, very easy to perpetrate terrorist attacks. I mean, look at what these guys did. People talk about the sophistication of their attacks. You honestly don't need to have sophisticated attacks to cause a lot of terror. I mean, these guys just took shots at people sitting outside in cafes. They blew up a Cambodian restaurant, a soccer stadium, a concert hall. So, I mean, given that this group is willing to target pretty much anything, and that soft targets, by definition, are not defended, I mean, if the group is not trying to hit symbolic targets or hardened targets, but rather just to kill, honestly, there's no easy solution there for any government.
Yeah, but isn't there a better intelligence gathering operation between the Americans and the British because of the history of NATO partnership than there is in perhaps France, who, you know, for a long time resisted getting involved in the North Atlantic Treaty Organization? You know,
I'm not really sure what you're getting at. I don't know that the French are particularly disadvantaged. I actually think that the French are underrated when it comes to counterterrorism.
Right.
They've held themselves actually pretty well. I do not put the blame with the authorities on this. The problem that happened is just inherent to the tactic of terrorism itself. And the reality is that terrorism can make any government in the world look terrible.
Sure.
I mean, one of the things that we are told here in this country is that the fact that there is a body of water between Great Britain and the rest of Europe, it means it's more difficult for the kinds of heavy weapons that have obviously been brought across Europe and from wherever, whether they've come from Eastern Europe, the Balkans, whatever. You know, the kind of attack that we saw in Paris on Friday night would be more difficult to execute here, if you like, just because the weaponry isn't in this country. I mean, guns in this country are still relatively rare. I mean, everybody knows there is a criminal fraternity that has guns, but they don't tend to have, you know, these really heavy, massive machine guns that can fire, thousands of rounds a minute.
Sure. I mean, France is particularly disadvantaged in this case because of its geography, because it has the largest Muslim population, because that Muslim population is particularly unhappy there because of its involvement against Islamic State, because of its strict separation of church and state in terms of the laic system. It's not really a surprise that France has supplied a larger share of foreign fighters by far than any other European country, twice as much as the next one in Germany. And so I do not think that the UK has the same level of threat posed, but it's not because of government intervention. Similarly, the United States is lucky just by dint of its geography, plus the fact that the American Muslim population is relatively moderate in comparison to the one living in France as well as in Belgium.
Right. Yeah, and we see it. I don't know how much you know about this match because it only happened in the last couple of hours, but there was a football match due to be played in Belgium, in Brussels, between Belgium and Spain. That has now been cancelled on the advice of the security services, who have said, effectively, we cannot guarantee the safety of either the players or the fans. Now, I don't know whether that means they've got specific intelligence, but knowing what we do, that most of these guys who attacked the Parisians were from this town in Belgium. Is Belgium now the kind of hotspot? And what do you think they know, or what have they heard about this football match?
Well, it's true that France has supplied by far the most foreign fighters of any European country. Belgium has supplied by far the most foreign fighters of any European country per capita. So 1 out of 1,260 Muslims in Belgium have actually traveled and linked up with these jihadist groups, especially Islamic State. The reality is that, I focus on counterterrorism, and we look at France, we look at the UK, we look at the US, but we don't tend to think immediately about Belgium. And so the fact that we find out that that so much of the planning for this attack, which is the second most lethal terrorist attack in Europe in history, really is pointing us now to try to understand, well, why Belgium? We understand that in France the Muslims are unhappy. We understand that there's been French intervention, in Syria, but not Belgium. So I think all of us now are taking a close look, and we're learning things that there seem to be what we call in the U.S. as no-go zones, basically lawless areas that aren't really under government surveillance that contain a disproportionate number of radicals who seem to be, controlling things. So the fact that now that they're canceling sports events makes total sense because if any government is to be blamed, I wouldn't say it's so much the French government as the Belgian government because these attackers seem to think that once they, drive out of France, they can just, slip into Belgium and return with their extremist buddies. I'm deeply concerned about that country, and I could understand why they might be closing down some public events.
Yeah, absolutely right. Well, Max, listen, appreciate you spending
thank
the time
you very much
talking
indeed.
to us. It's a terrible, terrible scenario. I don't know where it's all going to end, but we'll be talking some more about it, I'm sure, for many, many days to come. Max Abrams there, Assistant Professor of Political Science at Northeastern University. This is TalkSport. We are the Two Mikes. Loads more coming up.
On digital radio and 1089 and 1053 AM. TalkSport.
This is TalkSport. We are the Two Mikes. There will be a podcast coming out a little bit later on. Now, I know that you've had a pretty busy weekend, Mr. Parry.
Yes.
Because obviously we all had to come back from Birmingham and then either back to London. And were you not supposed to be going down to Bournemouth at some point or other over the weekend?
Oh, can't say anything about that, I'm sorry.
What do you mean you can't say?
Well, why were you asking me earlier on whether I've got sand on my shoes?
Well, you looked like you did have sand on your shoes.
I did, actually, yeah. There's a bit of sand in the bottom of the car.
Well, where have you been?
Well, I live on the coast. Live on the coast,
No, you
don't I? I do.
You live in a block of flats, which is in sort of a harbour type area. When I was there, I didn't see any sand.
Oh, there's plenty of sand around on the Solent.
On the Solent?
On the Solent.
Are you sure?
Yes,
is
I'm
it
sure.
not shale?
There's a bit of shale, but there's a lot of sand
Where's
as
the
well.
nearest sandy beach to your apartment?
Probably a place called Southsea, which is just across the harbour on the other side of Portsmouth.
And is that where you were?
I have been there. Have been there.
You have been there?
Have been there.
You did actually tweet out earlier that you were in Bournemouth.
Well, that's where my mother and,
Why are you being so
and
evasive?
family live. I'm not being evasive
Yeah,
at
you
all. I'm not being evasive. It's, I try to keep in touch with my family. If I go down there, then I go down there. It's as simple as that. The reason I did tweet out is because I had been spotted in Bournemouth.
So you were rumbled and so you decided you were going to come clean?
No, I didn't want people to start putting 2 and 2 together and coming up with 5.
Yeah.
So I just acknowledged that I was in Bournemouth. I don't know what insinuation you're making here, I don't know. What's your insinuation?
I'm not insinuating anything. I'm just asking you what you've been doing. Well, you don't seem to be able to give me a straight answer.
Well,
what have you been doing? All right, let me put it to you this way.
Yes.
Make it as easy as possible for you.
Yes.
What did you do today?
I had morning coffee and toast with my mother.
Did you?
Yes.
And where does she live?
In Bournemouth.
Well, so you were in Bournemouth.
Are you trying to insinuate the fact that the Everton game against Bournemouth in 2 weeks' time is coming up, that I was somehow going down there to plead my case before the Everton game?
Well, you've been behaving very strangely. We talked last week about how you had done some kind of a deal with Bournemouth Football Club, whereby something was going to happen, which was not necessarily going to involve you having to throw yourself off the pier.
Well, you can't throw yourself off the pier. I had a look at the pier actually, and it's there's a big fence around it to stop anybody who even drops something. If you're leaning on the pier rail and you dropped your glasses or your mobile phone or something like that, it wouldn't hit the sea because there's a big sort of horizontal fence, which is skirted right round the pier to stop anybody actually plunging into the sea.
Because there has been a communique.
So that was a non-starter.
Sent my way.
Oh, yes?
And bizarrely, the question was actually asked by a tweeting account called Two Mikes Unofficial, who was supposed to be on our side.
Yeah.
They sent a tweet to Bournemouth Borough Council.
Oh, yes?
Could you clear up if Mike Parry of TalkSport was stopped by Bournemouth Borough Council from jumping off the pier as a duck? Mm-hmm. To which they said, we don't know about that. You need to contact events@bournemouth.gov.uk for event permission.
Well, I went through all that before. I very much wanted to fulfil my vow.
And let's just remind everybody.
I wasn't able to.
Remind everybody why you're doing this, because you made this rather foolish claim, did you not? Season before this, that if Bournemouth were promoted, you would jump off Bournemouth Pier.
Well, it went back to before last Christmas, right? And Bournemouth were on a good run, and I simply said, you can't sustain it. You can't sustain it because I'm afraid that, you're a club...
The club that was not very big.
Well, I said you'd come up so rapidly, so fast, right up to the edge now of the Premier League, that I'm afraid your resources would let you down.
Yeah.
I didn't say there was a lack of will. I didn't say there was a lack of ability. I didn't say that Eddie, the manager, was not a very gifted young man who was doing a great job.
Yeah.
I didn't say any of that. I just said that you'll run out of steam. Anyway, they didn't run out of steam. They got to the Premier League, and now, unfortunately, they've been hit with a raft of terrible injuries. 3 ACLs, cruciate ligaments.
Yeah.
Anterior cruciate ligaments, and that would cripple Manchester United with the size of their squad, or Chelsea, let alone a team like Bournemouth, who haven't yet had time, because they're such a new Premiership club, to build their squad up to the sort of size you need to get over these sort of terrible bad luck injuries.
No. So the forfeit, but the forfeit hasn't happened. So now you're going to do this other forfeit, which involves going to the game and hanging out with the chairman. Or something.
No, I have decided that in the absence of being able to throw myself off the pier, which is what I wanted to do, I desperately wanted to do that.
Sure, there's some Bournemouth fans would quite like to help you.
No, I just want to do that. I'm going to make a gesture of a financial donation to a charity supported by Bournemouth Football Club.
Sorting it all out with money again.
Sorry?
Sorting it all out with money again.
And of course...
That's what you do.
And of course, I will add some words of explanation and regret.
Yeah.
Okay, explanation and regret. That's
all right.
That's the mood. That's the mood.
Just so long as we know.
Yes.
You'll keep us informed, obviously, of whatever plans you're going to be doing. Now, the other thing I wanted to mention to you was the state of Birmingham. We were in Birmingham last March, right? And
I just don't know how that city functions. I really don't.
Now, when we were there in March, right, there were no roadworks.
There were? Oh, there were? No, there were. I noticed in March there were some, and I thought they'd be cleared up by now.
There were a few. This time there was everywhere you went there was roadworks, and when I said to Andy and Jason I nearly didn't make the show.
Yes,
I literally should have got there at about 4:30.
That's right.
I ended up getting there about 6.
Oh, it's terrible.
And the whole area around Burnham, it was lovely because they had the Ferris wheel up, and it was like German market.
That's right.
And this kind of thing. But I couldn't actually. I was on that road as you come in.
Yes.
And I literally couldn't get off.
You drive around in circles in Birmingham. I'm sorry.
But I was not even driving. I was actually stuck in a traffic jam. For about half an hour.
They didn't go anywhere.
Didn't go anywhere. And then the traffic jam was worse if you're trying to get off the slip road. So I went down and around, went to Chinatown, and then couldn't park anywhere near the hotel.
No, it was shocking.
Because it was all dug up around there. The road was closed off. And I thought to myself, actually, we moan and groan about London.
Yeah.
Maybe they're doing the same thing in every city in Britain.
Well, maybe. I mean, we were in Newcastle recently. Didn't see a lot of roadworks there. There are roadworks in London all the time. That's because they're building these mad bike lanes that nobody ever uses.
Well, I know they're building bike lanes in Birmingham.
No,
they're just digging the place
I don't know what they're doing. I just don't know what they're doing. When I looked out from our hotel room, I think it was on the 5th floor or something, I looked out. I mean, I just couldn't believe the amount of red and white sort of huge concrete barriers that are all over the place in Birmingham, which are temporary roads, only the width of one car.
The next morning, right, when I went back to the car park, which was about nearly 3/4 of a mile away from the place, even though I was told it was the car park for the Birmingham Rep.
Yes.
Because I thought I had to take my daughter and her boyfriend back to her fiancée, actually, back to London.
Yes.
I couldn't actually get the car to the hotel. I tried about 3 times and you couldn't do it.
Yeah.
So I ended up having to park it sort of illegally somewhere and tell them to come and meet me.
It's madness. Please, if you're listening, you've got anything to do with Birmingham, get it tidied up, will you? Because the road system's dreadful.
Get it sorted.
Can't be good for commerce, can't be good for shoppers, can't be good for productivity, and it can't be good for people who stay in hotels.
Also, that hotel you found us, I mean, it wasn't particularly great the first time around. Second time around, did you know there was some kind of old people's convention going on?
Oh, well, that's a bit harsh against old people, isn't it? It's not their fault. They they were having a weekend in Birmingham.
No, but there was loads of them, though.
Well, yeah, but I mean, if there's a convention, there are loads of them. I have to say, breakfast the next day, I'm glad we got that raised table in the corner where we could all sit and mull over.
I should point out that the next morning,
yes,
we went in to have breakfast, and there was one sort of raised table up on a sort of plinth, which Porky immediately decided to commandeer,
absolutely,
on the grounds that he deserved it. It's a bit like what the Germans do when they're over in in any place. They just get the best table.
Take the best table. Well, I mean, you're right. There were about 100 sort of senior citizens in there. I call them old people, but it was a fantastic contrast on the Friday night in that hotel because in one corner the bar was filling up with senior citizens, right? You were there for some sort of convention or some sort of meeting, and in the other corner there were at least 20 fellas there from Merseyside who were on some sort of stag do or something like that.
Yeah.
and they were full of life and lively. Weren't offensive, weren't troublesome, but full of life and lively, in complete contrast to the rather more somnolent attitude of the senior citizens, and it made for a good contrast.
How about this from Ross, who was at the show? He said the traffic was so bad we had to walk 2 miles, and the taxi, I suppose it was worth it to hear Mike Parry say what he said. I'm not going to say what he says you said.
What did I say?
I can't say it.
Oh, all right. Well,
I can't read it out.
I didn't say anything offensive, so
I don't know
what that
Chris
is.
says, as soon as Porky begins to stutter, you know he's fibbing.
No.
Hashtag Bournemouth pier.
No. I just have to make sure that I get my words in the right order so that old MG doesn't immediately leap, on the interpretation of words, because his retarded intellect
That's not very nice.
And by that I mean not as good as mine.
I do wish I had your intellect.
Your less able intellect is not able sometimes to interpret the sort of things I'm trying to put over to our millions of listeners.
JJ says this: he should at least be made to stand in the middle of the pitch at Bournemouth dressed as a duck.
Well, that would be counterproductive, because I've got to address the crowds and explain to them what's going on. You can't do that through a duck uniform. That's all I'm saying.
A duck uniform?
Yes.
Right. OK, we've got loads to talk about coming up on the show. Dean says this: Porky must know Southsea is a shingle beach. Mm-hmm. Where is his watering hole in Gunwharf Quays? Does he have a pass for the ferry? So it's a shingle beach, Southsea.
No,
anyway,
it's not. No. There's loads of sand there. Believe me.
Now, here's an explanation from Dazza, who says they are laying the rails for the trams they've invested in Birmingham.
Oh, is that right?
Can you imagine putting a tram line into that road?
No, I can't.
There's only 2 lanes already.
No, I can't.
That was the nightmare they had in Edinburgh, when I was in Edinburgh.
Yes.
And I was on this station called Talk 107.
Yes.
It was almost a crusade, it became, because I was the one that said, this is the most stupid idea anybody's ever had.
Yeah, sounds stupid.
They were supposed to put tram, I don't know how well you know Edinburgh, down from Leith all the way up into
Leith Dock.
From Leith Dock all the way up into the main part of Princes Street, and then all the way out to the airport, right? So it was going to be great. You could get in and out from the airport, and you wouldn't have to take a taxi and all that. But I mean, it was so over budget that they ended up not being able to run it anywhere near those places, right? And they only ran it basically from the city centre out to Haymarket, really halfway to Murrayfield.
Shocking.
And they spent some ludicrous, hundreds and hundreds of millions of pounds of taxpayers'
money.
And it will be the same in Birmingham. These people should not be put in charge of a sweet shop.
No, they shouldn't.
Mind putting trams.
They shouldn't. Do you know local politicians are even more incompetent, generally speaking, than national politicians?
Yeah, but look at how much money the people who run the councils are getting.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, a national newspaper last week exposed the absolute rip-off and the sheer bordering on criminality payments that go to people who are in public service jobs who get sacked with powers of £333,000 and then start another job the next day and another £275,000 a year.
But it's like the chief executive.
Absolutely criminal.
It's the chief executives of these councils, and the reason that they say they're worth this kind of money is because they're in charge of these massive budgets. But the only reason they're in charge of these massive budgets is not because they've earned the right to be in charge. No. It's just because they've kind of got themselves into that position. 400,000 quid some of these people are making. I mean, it's just incredible.
It is utterly bizarre. And what they do is they generate so much funding, i.e. in taxes and all that kind of stuff. Eventually they do become in charge of a behemoth-type organisation because it overspends so much on everything.
Yeah. Lots of roadworks in Manchester too, says Natalie. They're putting bike lanes everywhere.
In Manchester?
In Manchester.
Well, hang on. We went to Manchester, didn't we? We went to the...
Well, yeah, we didn't really, though. We went to Salford, didn't we?
Yeah, but I tell you what, I got out to Salford on a tram. And from Victoria Station, the trams were very good. They were in like sunken sort of tram lanes and all that kind of stuff. Didn't seem to be smashed up any roads and all that. But if they're now putting bike lanes on top of the trams, already the roads have to share the road space with a tram. Yeah. If you've got to share the road space with a tram and a bike lane, that is just a recipe for utter chaos.
You might as well just forget about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is the unique go-kart feeling of a turbocharged Mini Cooper 5-door hatch. And this is how it feels knowing that you got it for just £189 a month plus initial rental. Book a test drive at your nearest mini centre or mini.co.uk/turbo. 48-month hire agreement from Mini Financial Services. £2,899 initial rental. Subject to status. Guarantees may be required. Available for new vehicles ordered by 31st of December and registered by 31st of March. Participating retailers only. Mileage and other conditions apply when you return the vehicle. Visit mini.co.uk/turbo.
Now for the weather.
Thanks, Phil. There are weather warnings in place with heavy and all made worse by gale force.
It seems... we've lost Katie. When the elements are against you, it's good to know that Goodyear's Efficient Grip Performance tyre is here for you, with A ratings for both wet grip and fuel efficiency in certain tyre sizes. Call in to your local Goodyear tyre dealer and ask about the award-winning Efficient Grip Performance tyre. Goodyear, made to feel good.
Asper's Super Casino Westfield welcomes over 1.5 million visitors every year.
It's London's only super casino with over 150 slot machines.
A huge 400-seat poker room.
2 bars, free live music and a big sports screen.
We're membership free.
And we're open 24/7. Asper's Casino at Westfield Stratford. So that's why they call it Super. Terms apply. Details at asperstratford.co.uk. Over 18s, play responsibly, gambleaware.co.uk.
Are you looking after someone who's 65 or over? Maybe a friend, a neighbour or an elderly relative? Cold weather can be seriously bad for their health, but there are things you can do to help them stay well this winter. Make sure they get their flu jab. Help get the medicines in before it gets too cold or before the holidays. And make sure they keep warm. Their home should be at least 18 degrees C, 65 Fahrenheit. NHS, we're here to help you stay well this winter.
Talk Sport on DAB Digital Radio and 1089 and 1053 AM. The enduring home of football.
It's modern radio, only better.
Talk Sport.
This is Talk Sport. We are the Two Mics. There will be a podcast coming out a little bit later on. I don't know if you know about this story about the convertible car, but I thought your new car was going to be convertible.
No, it's not.
Isn't it going to have one of those soft tops?
No, definitely not. Now, you know why, don't you? You know why I'm talking to you about this. Did you not see the pictures last week of the Porsche?
No.
All right, well, what happened last week is that a man who's walking past a Porsche with a soft top, okay?
The guy that climbed into it. Yeah, I did see those, yeah.
He took out a knife and he cut a square hole in the top of the car and then pulled the canvas away and then got into the car, tried to start it.
But this guy was clearly a complete plank.
Well, he tried to start it by hot wiring it, you know, and passers-by heard the engine sort of, you know, buckle a few times, but not roar into life.
Right.
And then when somebody started asking him what he was doing, because obviously holding the roof, he then got out, took what he could find in the car, turned around, put his foot through the back of the canvas roof, the soft top bit, and then jumped on the, you know, that particular Porsche, I think it was a Carrera, has a shelf at the back, if you see what I mean, like a speed... a
spoiler.
Spoiler, that's right. Crushed that and then jumped off the car and ran off.
Yeah.
Now, I have always said that my objection to having a... sorry, what's that?
I think that's a campaign alarm.
I've always said that my objection to having a soft-top car was always that it can be so easily damaged by some thug walking past with a key or a knife or anything else. And I've always been told, no. But the point is, if the guy had any brains whatsoever, if he wasn't just going to rob the car, if he really thought he could jump in a car like that and drive it off, I mean, you know, the disabling systems now on these cars are so good that you can't hotwire them. No, but cars do get stolen, don't they?
But the reason cars get stolen. The reason cars get stolen now is much more to do with the electronics. And,
of course it is.
And the clever car thieves actually have the diagnostic equipment to basically work out what the key code is, and then they just get in.
Well, I've told you, and we've done this in our live shows, the evil zappers, what they do is they stand there with the machine, they watch you take out your key, they watch you, you know, press the button on your key so it sends a signal to the car, they intercept it, they then record it in their machine, and then next time you're around, they've got that code and they steal your car.
Yeah, exactly.
It's what they do. But nevertheless, I think that soft-top cars are so vulnerable to damage, to criminality. I mean...
Yeah, but have you ever driven in a convertible?
With the roof up or down?
Well, down, obviously.
Down.
Or up. I mean, you know,
yes, I have, yes.
Have you ever driven... Have you ever rented a convertible? Have you ever owned one?
I tell you what, I remember when I was at the Daily Express and I was the Supremo there.
The Supremo of what?
A Supremo of news.
Thank you.
Yes.
Let's not make out you ran the whole place.
Well, you virtually do. If you run news,
no,
you virtually
That's
run
not
it.
True.
Oh, it
rubbish.
Is. Most important person...
No, it's absolute rubbish.
In any newspaper is the news editor, and that's what I was for 5 years.
It's a very important job. There's no doubt about that. But it doesn't mean you run everything.
Well, I think
otherwise, if it meant you ran everything, you wouldn't have got fired out to America to be put out of the way.
If you look at...
You would have said, hang on a second, I'm in charge of everything.
Yeah. If you look at the definition of what we're talking about here, a newspaper, that's the title of the product we're producing, and the news editor. It gives you a clue, doesn't it, that they're fairly closely connected.
That's
you know
what
what
you
I mean?
think, yeah.
That's what I think.
That's what you think.
Anyway, to get back to the story.
The night editor's job is actually more important. But there we are.
No, it's not. He's anonymous. And they just play around with silly little.
No, they lay
pictures.
the paper out. They decide where the stories go.
Anyway, listen. What I'm going to say to you is this. So David Benson was our motoring editor, who I've mentioned to you before.
You have indeed.
The man who nearly became James Bond. Actually, he was a South African who came to this country as an actor, but couldn't get any work and ended up as a journalist.
Yeah, you don't have to retell every single story.
No, but anyway, the point of the story is David then became a chronic drunk.
You've told that part of the story as well.
I know, and because he thought that it would be a little bit bad for business for getting done for drunk driving, as he was the motoring correspondent of the Express, he didn't drive any cars.
Yeah.
He just used to lend them to me.
Yeah. Well, he also was quite a clever guy. What he did was he made allies around the office who were in quite powerful positions so that he would keep his job.
Oh, absolutely. But
and you were more than happy to take part in that kind of system,
Oh, definitely. I used to tell him which sort of cars I liked driving.
Yeah.
So I did have a soft-top Porsche, actually.
Did you?
And in fact...
did anybody cut it open?
No, nobody cut it open because I had the roof down all the time. So anyway,
you just left it out?
No. I had an underground car park, you see. And
but it's still not a good idea to leave the roof down.
Well, it is if you live in an exclusive block like I do.
You don't?
Yeah, well, I did.
I've seen where you live.
No, don't worry about that. That was a different part of the world. Anyway, let me just finish this.
Go on.
Do you know what the registration plate of the Porsche I had was?
No.
A111.
Really?
Yeah. Do you know why?
Why?
Because the Porsche model was a 111.
You sure it wasn't a 911?
No, hang on. Now that was it. Yeah, A911. That's right. It was. You're absolutely right. It was
plank.
It was the letter A and then 911.
Yeah.
And everybody who
do you know for a while they stopped selling those in America after 9/11?
Oh, did they really?
Well, because they said, how can we sell a car that's called a 911?
I know, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. But every time I roared past a car, you know, on the motorway or something like that, or dual carriageway.
You didn't go on a motorway with the roof down, did you?
Yeah, of course I did, yeah. Every time I roared past...
Did you wear a hat?
You could see people pointing at the cars. It went flying past because they thought, wow.
Because they thought, who's driving it? We can't see anyone in there.
No, they thought, God, whoever's driving that car must be a really important person because his registration plate is A911 and that is a Porsche 911.
Or maybe they just thought that it was somebody who had nicked one for a free weekend from Porsche.
No, not at all. Now, another one I had, another soft top, right, was a Mazda.
Is it all coming back to you now?
Yeah. It was
what kind of Mazda?
Well, it was a brand new Mazda.
Mazda what?
RX.
RX-7?
Oh, could have been a Mazda RX-7. But I tell you why I remember
quite
that
nice
one.
those, actually.
I'll tell you I remember that one so well. I went to see...
Is that the one that looked a bit like the old Lotus Elan?
Yeah, exactly.
With the headlights that came out of the front?
Yes, that's right, all of that. So I went to see our West Country correspondent who lived in Marlborough, near Swindon, you know.
Oh, yeah.
And then when I finished seeing him, I had to go to Bournemouth to see the family. So I went over Salisbury Plain. But I went to a little village somewhere near Salisbury Plain.
Oh, yeah.
And because I was feeling good and it was a sunny morning and all that, I stuck in a Beach Boys tape. And the record that I really sort of took to was the one that's in Cocktail. You know,
I know, one of your favourite movies.
Not necessarily.
I don't know Cocktail very
well.
well.
The record is the one that starts, you know, Aruba, Jamaica. Oh, I want to take you
you
to
can never remember
Bermuda,
the name of it. You can't remember the name of the song, though, can you?
Kookaroo.
Kookaroo?
It is called Kookaroo, isn't it?
It's Kokomo.
Well, Kokomo, then. There you go. Kookaroo, Kokomo. It's the same thing. And I remember driving through this little town... Thinking everybody...
Creating noise pollution.
Yeah, well, I was actually, deliberately, because it was a brand new car and it was a new model. Nobody had ever seen one before, you know. So they must have been stunned, you know, to see me in this fantastic new model. And then a copper stepped out and waved me down.
I've only asked you one question.
No, copper stepped out.
And we've really finished with this amount of time we've got.
Copper stepped out and waved me down and asked me what I was doing.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I was, you know, as always, stone cold sober. I didn't have anything to worry about in terms of road violation or anything like that. So I said, well, what do you think I'm doing? I said, I'm driving a car. What's wrong? He said, well, you know, this noise blaring out, a distraction to other motorists and all this kind of stuff.
Is there a law about that, then? How loud you're allowed to play your music?
I don't know, but he thought I was. I mean, he was a local village bobby, so he was only doing his job.
Right.
He was a bit like, he reminded me, actually, years later, of the cop who detained Sylvester Stallone in First Blood. He was that sort of cop, you know what I mean? This is my town.
Yeah.
And when you're in my town...
Was he wearing a sheepskin jacket?
No, he wasn't, no. When you're in... And he wasn't carrying a double-barrel shotgun either. And he said, when you're in my town, you do it my way type thing. That was his attitude, you see what I mean?
Did you get away with it?
Yeah, I just said, I'm really sorry, officer, I'll turn my music down. He said, that'd be nice, thank you very much indeed. And he gave it all the old same plaudits about, we're just a quiet town, you know what I mean?
Well, good for him.
People like you driving through it
good
and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Wide boys from London.
Yeah, exactly.
No,
all that kind of stuff,
I had, my sister's got this convertible Mercedes sports car.
Oh, yeah.
And it's got one of those roofs that's actually solid, but it's when you press a button,
it
all
folds
down
back,
into the boot, right?
Well, they're all right, yeah.
Yeah, which is great, because you're not going to get that one cut open. But I took it off for a spin one day, and it was a lovely day, and got up onto the highway. Yeah. And just as I pulled onto the sort of the main body of the highway off the slip road, it started raining. And I thought, well, I better...
Does it automatically come up when it rains?
No.
Oh, I thought it did.
Well, I didn't know, you see, so I thought, well, I better press this thing and see, but it doesn't. What you have to do is you have to stop.
Yes.
You have to put the thing in neutral.
Neutral, I see.
And then you have to press the button.
Yeah. Well, anybody could have worked that out. You can't have a roof going up and down at 90 miles an hour.
Well, you just said, doesn't it come up automatically?
Yeah, well, I thought it would if it started raining.
Well, then you'd be driving while it was coming up, wouldn't you?
But if they did that, then Mercedes would have engineered it to be able to do that at speed.
Yes.
Whereas, obviously, if you had to put it into neutral, it wasn't engineered to do that at speed, was it?
But I hadn't asked the question, so I wasn't sure. Yeah. Anyway, so the point was, I was then sitting on the hard shoulder trying to work all this out while this rain was bucketing down all over the car. And so people were pointing at me, not for the reason that they were pointing at you.
What a complete idiot.
Yeah, what a complete plank this guy is. You know?
And meanwhile, your sister's
I don't mind telling stories against myself.
Your sister's carpets were getting all soaked and wet, and the seats were getting wet. You were getting wet. What a complete jerk. I'm surprised you didn't blow the car up with faulty electrics with all the rain.
Yeah, because you don't understand so much about cars, don't you?
I do, yeah. I understand quite a lot, yeah.
Really. This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics. Loads more coming up.
Talk Sport on DAB Digital Radio and 1089 and 1053 AM.
Freedom for sport.
Can we kick it? Yes, we can. Talk Sport.
This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics. There will be a podcast coming out a little bit later on. Captain Beefheart from Liverpool has texted in. He says,
Captain Beefheart.
Witnesses to Porky's driving were heard to shout, "Oh my God, it's a Porsche with a big plank in it."
A Porsche with a plank in it. That's a bit harsh, isn't it?
And here's one from Sean, who says, Britain are playing away against Belgium in the Davis Cup final in 10 days. Do you think it will be safe to play there? Well, it's not a question of whether we think it's going to be safe to play there, but it's a question of whether the security forces think it'll be safe. It may well be that gets cancelled as well.
Well, it's a very good question, that, because what's emerged over the last few days is this area of Belgium, this particular suburb in Bruges, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which apparently has been the focus of attention from the security service for some time.
Yeah.
So I'm sure they're on top of that one. But it's all these questions have to be asked now, I'm afraid.
True.
That's just the way of the world.
Irish One says, Porky's making me bang my head off the kitchen table. Ireland is not the British Isles. And then another one from Neil, who says, tell Bonehead Porky Ireland is not part of Great Britain or the UK.
No, I didn't say it was part of Great Britain or the UK.
We've already had this argument.
It's part of the British Isles because we're talking about the land mass, which is the British Isles.
But we've had this conversation before. And
I've been proven right.
No, you haven't been proven right.
Yes, I have been proven right. I don't know how you can deny that.
Because you're talking about a phrase which is now no longer in use. That's my point.
Yep.
I'm not suggesting that you're not correct in the sense that you're saying geographically, yes, that's what it used to be referred to, but it is no longer referred to as that. That is my point.
Yeah.
Now, I'll tell you another story about a car that I once had. I went out, when I told you I went out to Boulder, Montana once to do the story about Patrick Duffy's parents being shot dead in a bar.
Yes.
When I arrived at the airport, they said to me, and it was, because it was kind of right out there in the Wild West, they said, look, we're terribly sorry, Mr. Graham, we don't have anything other than this Toyota sports car for you. To which I said, that's great. They said normally a lot of people like to rent.
What sort of sports car was it?
It was a Toyota Celica.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And it didn't have
a small car.
That's quite a small car, but quite a nice car.
Yes,
quite a speedy little thing. And it had a sunroof. It didn't have a convertible top. Anyway, I went and stayed at a local hotel. It was all quite nice. Did the story, and I think it was the second night I was there. And I parked the car in a hotel car park, and it was quite a nice day. It wasn't, in any way cold or anything. Anyway, I woke up in the morning, and there was about 3 feet of snow on the ground. And of course, I then thought to myself,
"Oh, I did put the roof up.
I wonder if no, it was a sunroof.
It wasn't a convertible.
Oh,
I see. I did close the roof.
I thought, I wonder if I shut the sunroof. Because nowadays, if you had a car, you didn't shut the sunroof, all sorts of alarms would go off.
Yes, that's right.
But in those days, no. So, of course, I hadn't shut the sunroof.
Right.
Because I'd had it open because it was such a nice day.
Yes.
And I'd managed to park the car and forget to close the sunroof. And so I got to the car, and there was about a foot of snow on the driver's seat.
Right, that's not good.
It's not, no. Which I had
and on the passenger seat, presumably.
Yeah, but I didn't
and
have
on the gearbox.
But I didn't have a passenger.
No, exactly. But you had a foot of snow.
There was quite a bit of snow in the car, yeah.
And snow melts eventually and
well,
ruins the car.
Well, it was so cold, I managed to get the snow out of it before it melted.
Yeah.
But it was very wet driving it around.
I bet it was, yeah.
For the next sort of couple of days before I had to take it back.
They had a ants in your pants type feeling for the rest of that
it was something
time you were
that.
using it. Yeah, that would be shocking. Of course, in the old days, when we all had cars in Fleet Street, because for some bizarre reason, they gave us all staff cars, didn't they, to drive around.
Well, that was before they changed the tax rules.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
I mean, I didn't finally get around that until I joined the Mirror. And when I finally got a company car, and they actually said, look, it's better we give you an opt-out. It's better we give you money to get your own car.
That's right.
And that way you don't get taxed.
That's why you don't get taxed, yeah. But in those days, there were so many cars around, there was never a car park to put them in. So what you used to do is you, just park them wherever you could. But then what happened is, a lot of the guys would sort of come out of work, get completely bladderated up and down Fleet Street, decide to leave their car and get a taxi home or something like that, or get the train home or something like that. But the problem is, when you came back the next morning, you could never remember where you'd originally parked your car.
Yeah.
And you used to spend days searching for them, and sometimes weeks, because they'd been actually towed away and put into police compounds and all sorts of things.
Yeah.
And it was a big problem. At one time, I remember...
But also, because it was
Express
a company
had 7
car.
cars missing.
Because it was a company car, you tended not to be as careful with it as you would be with your own car.
You didn't really care. I totally agree. Now, what's this new system I've been told about? Somebody sent me a note on it. It's some guy selling car insurance by the hour.
Oh, yeah.
So people can borrow their mates' cars, or you just talked about driving your sister's car in America and all that kind of stuff. And apparently it's cheaper than even hiring a taxi. It can be as little as £3 an hour.
What, for insurance?
Yeah.
Well, £3 an hour for insurance is a hell of a lot, isn't it?
Is it? Well, if you're only borrowing it for... Supposing you go to a football match...
Yeah, but hang on. Why would you need insurance? I mean, for example, I could give you permission to drive my car. I know you wouldn't necessarily want to drive my car.
Yeah.
But as long as you've got a British licence, my insurance tells me that you're allowed to drive it.
Yeah, but if it's... no, I was going to say, if it's on a Saturday, don't you have to ring up your insurance company and clear that with them?
On a Saturday?
Yeah.
Why?
Because you need to add my name to your insurance policy as a recognised driver.
No.
Well, how do you know that?
Because I've read the policy.
I've just reinsured my car, and I'm pretty sure I'm the only named driver.
Well, you will be the only named driver. It doesn't mean you can't give permission for somebody else to drive your car.
Oh, I think it does.
No, it doesn't.
You sure?
Can't, because you can't possibly name every driver that you might want to allow you to drive your car.
I think you're wrong there, because I mean, for years I've had my elder sister nominated as a driver of my cars because she happens to live nearest to me than any other member of my family.
Yeah.
But I don't let my little sister drive it because she's not nominated on my insurance policy.
It doesn't need to be. You're
think
entitled to give somebody permission to drive your car.
Are you sure about
this?
Yes,
of course I'm sure about it.
I'll have to ring up and find out about that.
Yeah. Well, you wouldn't let anybody drive your car. You're too selfish, aren't you?
No, I would. I mean, it could be very convenient. Supposing you went off to the pub and, for instance, some members of my family don't drink as much as others, you know what I mean?
Right.
And you just suddenly
as long as they're not drinking too much, they'll be able to drive your car.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
And you're deciding to yourself, I think I'll have another drink because then, person A in my family can drive home because they're just on the old orange juice or something like that.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Right. It's called a designated driver.
Yeah.
You should operate that system anyway.
Sorry?
You should operate that system anyway.
What system?
Designated driver. You're not listening to me.
Designated driver, yes. I just wasn't sure what the expression meant. But I mean, you're absolutely right. Yeah.
I mean, the thing is that if you're paying by the hour for insurance, it's a bit like when you buy travel insurance. You go, oh, yeah, it's only 150 quid for 2 weeks.
Yes.
If you were to do that over the course of a year, you'd think that was ludicrously expensive.
Yeah, you would. That'd be about $5,000 a year.
Exactly.
Yes.
Same as £3 an hour.
Yeah.
Imagine that over the course of, say, a 60-hour week. You'd be paying £180 a week for insurance.
But if you lent your car to your mate for 5 hours to go to a football match, watch a match and come home again, that's 15 quid.
Yeah.
That's cheaper than a taxi there and back.
Well, that's true.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
but
that's the system they've got with these, zip cars and things like that now, where you can rent them by the hour.
God knows what they're all about. I wouldn't want to do that. I wouldn't want to get into a car someone's been driving an hour before unless it's been valeted properly.
Why not?
Would you?
Well, they do valet them. I don't think it's a question of you driving somebody else's car.
I think that sounds like slum driving to me. Listen, has our mate Piers started on Breakfast TV?
Well,
yet?
I saw him on Loose Women yesterday.
Right, was he?
And I got the impression that he was starting, if not this week,
like next
very
week or
soon,
something like that.
He was meant to be doing Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, so maybe he wasn't on this morning.
Oh, I see. Well,
yesterday morning,
I sent out a funny tweet about him over the weekend before all the horrors of France happened and all that kind of stuff.
Did he respond?
No, he didn't respond, but I thought it was very funny, actually, because there was a story saying Piers Morgan drafted in to rescue TVAM, is it? Is that what it's called?
It's called Good Morning Britain.
Good Morning Britain, that's right.
This again proves that you actually are living in this kind of bubble.
No.
Where you don't think anything's changed.
No, Good Morning Britain.
You think TVAM is still on.
All right, Good Morning
Britain.
Britain.
It was in the 80s.
They're all called
the same. Well, don't get irritable with me. You're stuck in the 80s.
So what I said, that's like the captain of the Titanic calling for the bailout bucket. Do you get it?
Yep. Well, it's not really an insult to him. It's more an insult to the show that he's about to host.
Yeah, sort of. But I mean, you know what I mean. It's sinking fast.
Well, it's not as bad as what Alan Sugar said. Alan Sugar said it's going to be a bit like morning sickness.
Morning sickness. Oh dear me, that's terrible. But I mean, you know what I mean. The Titanic's going down. The captain says, "Bring me the bailout bucket."
It wasn't that funny.
Well,
I'm sure that
Good Morning Britain sinking. Can Piers save it?
I'm sure that'll persuade him to invite you to his next party.
Mind you,
I
think if anybody can save it, I think he can.
Yeah.
I think he has quite an infectious personality.
He was very good on Loose Women yesterday.
He also claims he's got the best skin of any TV presenter in the world.
Does he?
Says he has it regularly moisturised. Yeah, apparently.
Seems unlikely, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does a bit.
This is Talk Sport. We've got loads more coming next.
The Form Zone on Talk Sport with Betfair. This is Play. Listen to Talk Sport throughout the weekend for Betfair's experts' essential guide to all the latest form and odds as all the big teams face off. Everything you need to keep ahead of the game and make sure you know where the smart money is this weekend. Enter the Form Zone every weekend on Talk Sport with Betfair. You can now get better odds after you've placed a bet with Price Rush, giving you bigger wins. Selected single bets and markets. Conditions apply.
If you drive a company car, there are some things you need. Exceptional fuel consumption, low CO2 emissions, so you pay less benefit-in-kind tax, business navigation included as standard. And then, there are some things you want. Striking aesthetics, sportline styling, star-spoke alloy wheels, sport leather seats. What you want can sometimes be what you need. The new BMW 320d ED Sport. Request a test drive at your local BMW centre.
Landlords, Direct Line guaranteed to beat any quote for the same cover. Can your landlord insurance do that? Search Direct Line Landlord. New customers only. Qualifying criteria apply. Underwritten by UK Insurance Limited.
Pneumonia strikes up to 1 in 100 of us every year. Don't let it be you. Vaccination can help protect you from the most common type of pneumonia. Speak to your pharmacist, doctor or nurse about pneumococcal pneumonia vaccination today, or search Pneumonia Strikes. Sponsored by Pfizer.
On DAB Digital Radio and 1089 and 1053 AM.
The pressure's on now.
Relieve the itch. Talk Sport.
Norman Stanley Fletcher, you have pleaded guilty to the charges brought by this court, and it is now my duty to pass sentence. You are an habitual criminal who accepts arrest as an occupational hazard and presumably accepts imprisonment in the same casual manner. We therefore feel constrained to commit you to the maximum term allowed for these offences. You will go to prison for 5 years.
Recognise that?
Yeah, of course, it's porridge.
It's starter porridge, isn't it?
Sorry?
It was a starter porridge,
It was starter porridge, that's right, when the doors sort of clanged and he was inside. Did you realise, because, of course, it was a great show, wasn't it? It was written by the same guys who wrote Whatever Happened to the Likely Lads. And the Likely Lads.
It was very funny.
Ian LaFrenne and Dick Clements.
Yes.
And it was terribly funny and all that. But what I couldn't believe when I started seeing reports that they're going to revive it and bring it back, and it's going to be the original guy, what was his name? What was the name of the the main character. I mean, I know it was Ronnie Barker who played it. What was the name?
Well,
Fletch.
It was Fletch, wasn't it?
Yeah. So
Norman Stanley Fletcher, I think.
Norman Stanley Fletcher, that's right, yeah. So what I'm saying is that the way they're going to revive it and bring it back is that Fletcher's grandson is going to be the villain, locked up inside jail, but a modern jail, not a Victorian jail, like Slade Prison.
His grandson?
His grandson.
Oh, you mean a fictional grandson?
Yeah, a fictional grandson.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Obviously, that's the way they're going to try and revive it, and bring it up to modern times. I
don't think it's a great idea, to be honest.
They're not going to try and replicate what it was then. No, I don't either. But do you know the most amazing thing that struck me was reading up on, how good it was last time it was here, and that was 40 years ago, by the way. They only ever made 21 episodes of it. 21 episodes.
Isn't that amazing? But you can still watch it. They've replayed them over and over again. But I guess in those days as well, and presumably Ronnie Barker still had his kind of commitments to the two Ronnies and maybe other things that he was doing. And sometimes they just decided that's the end of that. And like Fawlty Towers, Fawlty Towers has got a ridiculously small number of episodes as well.
Fawlty Towers was 12.
Yeah, they only did two. They did 2 series.
That's right, of 6. Yeah, they're absolutely right. But
in a way, 21... that kind of sometimes encapsulates it in a much
more, it could do.
Yeah, in a much better way.
It could do. Do you know that they used to get 15 million viewers? Now that's about double what programmes like the X Factor get now, isn't it?
I know.
And TV execs would kill for those figures these days. But you have to remember, you only ever had the choice of BBC One, ITV, BBC Two, and Channel 4 possibly 40 years ago.
I suspect Channel 4 wasn't even in there.
I think it was. I think it just was it? I don't know. It might not have been. You might be absolutely right. But the digital age and the multi-channel TV hadn't come in yet.
That was when Saturday night basically was spent in watching television.
Yes, it was.
For most families.
Yes,
it certainly was for ours.
That's right. Yeah.
Even when I got to the point where I was sort of working a little bit on a Saturday, mostly until I started going out with girls, which was about 16.
Yes.
Up until that point, you would just spend the entire Saturday night pretty much having dinner, watching TV.
No, I agree. But even when we got to that age of sort of 15, 16, going out with girls, there was always something on about 7 o'clock, which you'd watch anyway before you went out, just after you'd got ready.
Yeah.
And you sat on the couch and you watched Doctor Who, and then said, I'm going out now.
Yeah.
And you meet up with your mates in the pub at about sort of 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
And you'd all discuss Doctor Who or something like that, because that's what everybody did.
No, I don't remember that.
And then sometimes,
that's not what I did.
Sometimes you'd drink for 2.5 hours and make sure you got back for Match of the Day at 10:30.
So that's not what I did at all. I didn't do any of that.
What did you do?
Well, I didn't go out with my mates, as it were. I always went out with a woman, a girl.
What, you never...
So we'd go out for dinner. I wouldn't sit and, watch TV before I went out.
For dinner at 16?
Yeah, of course.
Don't be ridiculous.
Listen, I worked in Hampstead, right?
Yeah.
And because I worked in Louis' Patisserie, which was this very famous...
Louis' Patisserie.
Very famous Hungarian bakery.
Oh, yeah, well known
cakes.
From Sydney to Syracuse, yeah.
Actually, it's known around the world, yeah. Panorama did a documentary on the guy that owns it.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah, he did, yeah. Because he came here from Hungary in 1956 after the revolution.
I see.
And the overrunning by the Russians. And he came from literally nothing. He brought his recipe book with him. Into his tracksuit.
What did he have in his recipe book?
Well, a lot of great cakes.
Really?
And then he took
Eccles cakes?
No, not Eccles cakes. He's from Hungary.
Oh, okay.
You think this is something to make fun of, don't you? This guy, this is one of the sort of guys that you would admire.
Oh, yeah.
Because not only did he become very wealthy, he drove around in a great big blue Rolls Royce.
Oh, right. Okay.
He started having. He worked 3 or 4 jobs until he could buy the bakery.
Yeah.
And he worked himself up from nothing.
He's still alive?
He is, yeah.
Is he?
He still runs the place. But because we used to supply all the restaurants in Hampstead, which were all very nice,
right,
with cakes.
Yes.
Basically, they knew me. And so they would let me into any one of their restaurants.
Really?
And not only give me a deal, but treat me incredibly well. So at 16, I was actually rather sophisticated.
And you got a free nosh, did you? And all
it wasn't
kind of
free,
stuff.
but it was always, slightly discounted, shall we say.
I had my favourite Chinese restaurant where I used to take my females.
Yeah, but you're about as sophisticated as a plank of wood.
No, don't be ridiculous.
No, you must have been even worse in those days.
No. I had more money than everybody else. I worked harder than everybody else. I was the only guy at 16 who could go and pick his girlfriend up in taxis.
Well,
and
you've
that
just
sort of
told
stuff.
me that you'd go out on a Saturday night at 8 o'clock, get a few sherbets down you with your mates, right? And then come home and watch Match of the Day.
That was when I was
completely different from what I've just described.
That was when I was about 18. No, actually, that was when I was about 17. I think I was still at school then. When I was 18, I never got home for Match of the Day anymore. And you couldn't record it in those days either, which was a bit of a shame because then you missed all the football.
Well, you would never have known that you could have... I mean, you'd never known what the idea of recording anything on TV was.
No, you wouldn't know. I totally agree. And there was no other way of watching it, really. That's why I had to rely on newspapers for picking up on what's happened.
Yes. Now, quite a few people have sent in some information on the insurance front, right?
Okay.
And this one is probably about the most succinct. John from Durham. The person that drives your car must have fully comprehensive insurance, and their insurance must allow them to drive another car, and that is normally only third-party cover. Well, John, the purpose of what I'm saying here on the radio is that, you've just more or less pedantically described what I said. You can nominate anyone else to drive your car without actually giving them permission to do so.
Because I've got fully comprehensive insurance.
Obviously, you're not going to give somebody permission to drive your car who's banned from driving. Yeah. That goes without saying. You're not going to give somebody permission to drive your car who doesn't have insurance for their own car.
Exactly.
But you can give permission to somebody else to drive your car.
Yes. I don't know. I'm going to check that out because I've just renewed my insurance policy at vast expense, by the way.
Why is it so expensive?
I don't know.
You're parked in an underground car park.
It is.
Well, then it should be cheaper.
Well, you'd thought
it's not in London. You must live in a very high crime area.
No, I don't live in a high crime area. I live in a very low crime area, actually.
Well, why is it so expensive?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
I mean, the car's not a particularly expensive car.
Well, it's the new one, you see, which is arriving on Friday.
What, so you've got insurance for the new car?
Yes.
But you haven't got it yet?
No, I'm getting it on Friday, so I've made all the arrangements.
Are you getting it on Friday?
Yes, yes.
Are you going to let me drive it?
No.
I've just told you can let me drive it.
No, because
I've got insurance.
When you drive a car, you blow up the gearbox. That's what you've done. Have you got your jalopy back yet?
No, I'm expecting any day now.
Oh, yeah.
I got a message over the weekend that they were hoping to have good news for me today, Monday.
Yes.
But I didn't actually get any good news Monday. So I'm hoping tomorrow, today, it should be possibly retrievable.
OK, do you remember a guy talking about programmes? I meant to say this to you. Do you remember the Goodies?
Yes.
What did you think of them?
I didn't really like the Goodies.
I didn't. I thought it was silly. But Bill Oddie...
Tim Brooke Taylor.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. But Bill Oddie, who's one of the Goodies...
A lot of people think you look like Bill Oddie.
Yes, I've had that accusation over the years.
I mean, I'm
not
I'm not saying that as a Mickey take. I'm saying that a lot of people say that.
I had that accusation over the years. I did think about plastic surgery, but that was a bit excessive.
Yeah.
But old Bill Oddie is going on at the BBC for not putting his repeats of his show, The Goodies, into its archive service, which people can then go and access,
Yeah.
And he says he can't find out why. Now,
I'm sure I've seen the Goodies on Netflix, actually. I don't know why I've seen them there, but I think they're on.
I haven't seen an episode of The Goodies for about 40 years. And do you know what? If I saw it advertised, I wouldn't tune in.
Right.
I thought it was drivel. I couldn't understand a word of it. Just three sort of...
It was just a bit daft,
It was three intellectual blokes, because I think they all went to Cambridge, and they or Oxford or something like that.
Well,
These people normally
I would
do.
say they seem
just
slightly...
running round and saying stupid things because they thought they were very bright.
They seem slightly less intellectual than the Monty Python crowd, though.
Well, yeah, but Monty Python was funny in places.
Yeah.
Whereas
I mean, even now, if you look at parts of Monty Python,
yeah,
apart from some of the movies, but some of the actual TV stuff, now you look at it and you go, actually, that's not that funny.
No, it's rubbish. I mean...
Well, it's not rubbish.
It is rubbish.
Well, how have you gone from saying it was funny to it was rubbish?
I said
it was
parts
funny.
of it. I said parts of it were quite funny.
You just said it was funny.
Parts of it, I said, were quite funny.
And now you said it's rubbish.
I said parts of it were quite funny, you idiot. Don't be selective.
I love it when you start shouting at me.
I saw one once when John Cleese was a stockbroker, and he's sitting in his office, in an oak-panelled office, and this person comes in with a charity tray, you know what I mean, where you put money in the box and you take a little sticker and you put it on your lapel, and he thought it was a share certificate.
Yeah.
Couldn't get this thing into his head about giving people money for no. But anyway, Bill Oddie is whinging on about about not having the Goodies in the archive. Who would want to watch the Goodies again?
Yeah.
I don't know if there's any demand for it. I would say no, there probably isn't.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you?
Wow, somebody has just tweeted me a picture. I'm going to reveal to you in a little while what that is, because I'm going to make you wait because we're running out of time.
Oh, yeah?
Absolutely incredible stuff.
Sounds intriguing.
Yeah, it is intriguing. This is Talk Sport.
Talk Sport, the radio station with undersoil heating.
Yes, unbelievable.
On DAB digital radio and 1089 and 1053 AM.
Incredible footwork.
Oh, yeah. Talk Sport.
This is Talk Sport. We are the two Mikes. There will be a podcast coming out a little bit later on. There will be winners and losers coming up as well. Excuse me, in the next hour. Peter, who listens to us from Stockholm,
yes,
just sent me an amazing picture, which is what I was so taken aback with just before the break there. He sent me a picture of Louis' Patisserie, which is in Hampstead High Street, basically.
Right.
And it's obviously an old picture because in front of the shop is Louis' old Rolls-Royce Corniche, which he had in the 70s, which I spent a fair bit of time in. And he says...
Well, how old is that picture then?
Well, this picture must be, I would say, from about 75, 76, around there. And it says, that sounds and looks brilliant, MG. I'll make sure to visit next time in London. I mean, it is an amazing shop, and the stuff they sell is incredible. But the idea that he's found this... I don't know where he could have found this picture from.
That's what I'm going to say. He surely hasn't still got that car, has he?
No. I don't know what he's got now. I haven't seen him for a few years. I mean, he had a Corniche for a while, and then he had a Rolls-Royce Silver Shadow for a while as well.
Don't you think you should catch up with the guy and find out what he's up to these days?
Well, I should. Well, funny enough, my daughter Emma went in to see him because she obviously, you know, because her mother also worked there.
Right.
When we were going out together in London, she got a job working in the tea room.
Right, good.
Because it was one of the few places she could get a job because she wasn't technically you know, supposed to be working, being American.
Yes.
So the whole family, and my sister worked there, the whole family's got this kind of... you know, great affinity with the place.
Yes.
And Emma went in to introduce herself to him and say, I'm Mike's daughter.
Good God.
I haven't seen him for a few years.
And when was that? When did she do that?
And do you know what his description of me was?
No.
I remember he was very skinny, used to drink a lot.
Very skinny, used to drink a lot.
He actually introduced me to drinking.
Well, the drinking a lot bit's still there, but the very skinny bit disappeared a couple of decades ago.
Yeah,
pal.
I guess so.
So I wouldn't worry too much about that. Listen, we're talking about TV, right? And although this is not a TV review programme, you did note over the weekend, did you, that Warren Mitchell died?
Yes, I did.
I mean, you know, what an amazing character actor that guy was, because, of course, he created he didn't create... Johnny Spate,
was the writer.
The writer created... Alf Garnett, but Warren Mitchell interpreted it in a way nobody else could. Peter Sellers was down to become that character actor, and he couldn't do it because he was doing the Pink Panther films at the time and all that kind of stuff.
And you might say he wouldn't have been as good as Warren Mitchell.
Oh, he wouldn't have been anywhere near as good.
But except, you say that, but actually he was a very talented actor, wasn't he, Peter Sellers? A very talented comedian.
Of course he was.
He might have done it very well.
Maybe, but I'm not sure anybody could have brought it over like Warren Mitchell. But the amazing thing is about all this, right, that... Johnny Spate wrote it because he thought we were all bright enough to work out that what he was doing, it was a double sort of...
it was a parody of somebody...
It was a double dummy, so to speak, that this guy was so prejudiced and so outrageous and so horrendous in some of his views that it would all bring the prejudice to the forefront and help fight prejudice. But in fact, what happened was... And Warren Mitchell regretted this the rest of his life. When he used to go to football matches, because although he was a West Ham United fan in the series, he was actually a Spurs fan, right? And when he used to go to the football matches, all the fans were patting him on the shoulder as though he was Alf Garnett and saying, you're absolutely right about the immigration problem and all this kind of stuff. Right. And so he suddenly found that...
Well, you can never underestimate the gullibility of the British public, can you?
Or the daftness of the British public. But it was amazing, really. But what a character he created. I mean, I remember... You just said about Saturday night sitting around watching family telly and all that. We used to sit around and watch it, and of course, I didn't know there was supposed to be a fight against prejudice and all that. I just thought he was a funny man, you know, with all these stupid views on the royal family, your royal family, it's your royal family, and all that kind of stuff. And I remember once. He was walking into West Ham United's ground to get a ticket for a forthcoming game. Yeah. And there was, the hoot of a horn, and of course, being Alf Garnett, he turned around and gave the bloke a V sign. Yeah. And it's Bobby Moore doing a cameo appearance, the England and West Ham captain. Right. And you can imagine the way he went into the mega grovel after that, he was almost on his knees, begging forgiveness.
That's funny.
No, a terrific guy.
Yeah, absolutely right. And of course, it was Sherry Blair's father. That was the
Tony
star
Booth
of the show as well, because he was the Scouse lefty.
He was the Randy Scouse Git, as he called him.
He was married to Eunice Stubbs.
That's right.
It was a fantastic show.
It was, It was brilliant,
He used to drink in a pub in Hampstead, funnily enough.
Oh, Warren Mitchell?
No, Tony Booth.
Tony Booth? Yeah. Which one?
The Flask.
Flask, that's down the alleyway.
Yeah, down Flask Walk. Yeah.
And in fact, for a while, I don't think he does anymore, Jamie, what's his name? The chef lived there.
Jamie Oliver. Did he?
Yeah,
very
lived
possibly.
in a house at the end.
Now, I've got some answers for you on why your insurance is so expensive.
Right.
From John, who's tweeted at the two Mikes. He says, the reason why Mike Parry's insurance has gone up is because once you get to a certain age, you're a liability and are more risk.
Yeah, that's a joke, of course.
No, it's not.
Of course it's a joke. That'd be ridiculous. I've never had an accident in my life, so why would I be a liability?
Because you're old now.
What's a ridiculous...
Because you're old now, and so therefore...
I'm not old. Don't be ridiculous.
I'm not old.
I'm not old.
Well, are you closer to death than life, shall we say? It's the end of your life than the beginning.
I'm not going to answer that.
Are you closer to the end of your life or the beginning of it?
I'm not going to answer that.
Technically speaking, you're old if you're closer to the end of your life than at the beginning.
Rubbish.
When you're 20, you're closer to the beginning of your life, right? When you're 50...
Well, the problem with life is you never know. That is the problem.
Yeah, but you're not going to live for another 50 years, don't you?
I don't know that, actually.
What, you think you might live for 50 more years?
I'm not saying that I will, but I mean the medical science and the way it's moved on is so astonishing that anything's possible.
Talking about medical science, you see that face transplant story today?
Oh, it's terrible. I couldn't bear to
no,
look
it's
at
not
it.
terrible. It's amazing.
I couldn't bear to look at it.
What do you mean you couldn't bear to look at it?
Well, I can't bear to look at people who've got, like, such horrible faces. It's
well,
really...
no, his face was disfigured, and now it's not disfigured because he's had a face transplant.
I can't bear.
Maybe you should get one.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You think I need one?
I can barely look at yours. It's so hideous. Sorry.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to make cheap wisecrack jokes like that because, quite frankly, they're pathetic.
Right.
Listen, we rely on our telephones all the time, don't we? Why are phones under pressure? Phone companies under pressure to introduce what doctors say is needed, and that is a bedtime mode, so they don't reproduce daylight light when you put them next to your bed at night. Why don't you just switch it off?
What? Can you explain that to me again?
Yeah, a British doctor wants phone firms to develop an automatic bedtime mode to stop them harming sleeping patterns.
Right.
The blue light emitted by smartphones, tablets and e-readers disrupts body clocks. It mimics normal daylight. It means users, particularly children, are kept awake. Well, why would you have all those phones in a children's bedroom?
Well, one, you shouldn't, right?
Exactly.
Two, if you have a phone that emits a light, then you should switch it off.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
What on earth is he talking about, this guy?
I've no idea. Professor Paul Greengrass. Greengrass. That's like Greengrass in
That's the guy. That's the
Heartbeat.
guy who directed all the Bourne films, isn't it?
Who?
Greengrass. Paul
know.
Greengrass. You said the Bourne films was one of your favourite films.
Yeah, well, they were the Bourne Identity and all that. Yeah, brilliant.
But you don't know who directed them.
No idea.
His name's
I don't
Paul
care.
Greengrass.
Oh, I didn't know that. No, this guy
This
is
is
called...
a different Paul Greengrass.
Well, it is, because it's Paul Greengrass, Gringras. He said, screens need an automatic setting that triggers at the end of the day and filters out the blue light that delays the body clock. As it gets darker, the body starts to reduce the sleep hormone, melatonin.
But there are already apps that you can get for
Do you know
the
what
phone.
melatonin is?
Yeah, melatonin is that thing that sort of is created inside your body.
Sleep hormone.
Which is supposedly a good thing, right? Because
Yes.
you can take melatonin tablets.
Yes.
If you're not getting enough sleep.
Oh, is that right? I didn't know that. Yeah.
I believe so. No, but the point is there are already apps that can do this. I mean, it's all very well. I mean, it's like saying to people,
I know.
you must have some kind of a mechanism to stop people enjoying themselves too much. So therefore we'll have to have some kind of mechanical cut-off point. I mean, if people can't organise their lives around what to do with their mobile phone when they're going to sleep, then what sort of a world are we living in?
But it sounds to me like this is almost the same as saying don't have a bloke bashing a drum in your bedroom at night or else it'll preclude you from going to sleep.
Yeah.
Isn't it common sense?
Yeah,
I mean, look, in the old days, right?
I mean, where do you put your phone when you go to sleep?
Well, it depends whether I want to be alerted by it or not.
Right.
If I don't want to be alerted by it...
You leave it in the other room?
I leave it on a charger in the other room, no problem at all. If, however,
but you leave the ringer on, so if it rings...
No, I don't. If I don't want to be alerted by it.
If I want to go to sleep and not be... and I'm not expecting a call or a text or something, mine's off.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
So if somebody rings me, I don't answer it.
No, all I do is I turn the sound down, I leave it on the charger in the other room. That's not a problem, okay? But I don't hear it or anything like that.
Yeah.
Although, funny enough, do you know what? Funny enough, even when I'm deep asleep, I can feel the vibration of the phone ringing if I don't switch it off. Isn't that amazing? From two rooms away.
You can feel the vibration.
I can feel the vibration of the phone ringing 2 rooms away, even when it's even when I've turned the sound down.
Why don't you switch the vibration off as well?
Well, I should do sometimes, yeah, but no, it's not on vibrate. It's just the normal ringing noise.
Oh, yeah.
But I feel it 2 rooms away.
Yeah.
I'm sensitive to, I don't sleep heavily at all.
Well, you hardly sleep, do you?
I hardly sleep, that's absolutely right.
I'm worried about that. It does worry me, that.
Well,
the amount of sleep you get.
I would never sleep for more than 2.5 or 3 hours at a time without waking up. It's impossible.
Right.
But anyway, what I was going to say is, if I do want to be alerted, i.e., so for instance, sometimes I think that something might call me in the morning and ask me to go and do this or do that, then I leave the phone on, put it next to my bed, but I hide it behind a book so that I don't see that blue light. Right. You see what I mean?
Which book?
The current book on my bedside is a history of... hang on, what's your problem?
The current book on my bedside?
Yes. Admiral...
What is it, like Mike Parry's book club?
No.
Is it Hornblower?
No, it's Admiral Horatio Lord Nelson.
Really?
Yes, it is, yes. History of, okay?
And what page are you on?
I don't know.
Or do you just use it as a sort of jolly reference? So you wake up and go, I know, I'll just have a quick look at page 395 and see what I can learn about Admiral Horatio Lord Nelson.
Well, I don't read in bed anyway, because it
why
cricks your neck.
So you've got a book on the bedside table.
Yes.
You're the sort of
Yes.
guy, right, that would
Yes.
have, I'm sure, in one of your palatial so-called exclusive apartments, you know, pretend books like a bookshelf.
No.
Just with the.
No, I've got millions of books.
Just with the binding.
I've got millions of books.
But it's actually not a real bookshelf.
I've got a lot of books piled up on the floor. I've got so many books now. I've had to give over a bit of floor
like a terrible
space.
Shed.
No, it's not. No, it's in my office.
Well, it sounds like some kind of old curiosity shop.
No, it's not. Well, actually, funny enough, my house isn't like a bit of a museum, to be honest. One of my houses, anyway.
Mausoleum, more like.
No, it's ridiculous. No, dead in there, yeah. Like
it's half dead.
I mean, for instance, ever since I started in this business, right? You know, in the old days, it doesn't happen now because now you get smart cards, which you just, put on a reader. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
But in the old days, you used to get all areas pass, which you wrap around your neck on. Is it called a lanyard, that thing you put around your neck?
Yeah, it can be.
Now, I've got literally about 500 of those, okay?
Yeah.
Which I hang around the house, so to speak, you know what I mean?
Why don't you decorate a Christmas tree with them?
No, I won't decorate Christmas tree, but I put them on door handles and all that kind of stuff, you know, sometimes on the back of chairs.
Yeah.
I've got 2 World Cup final tickets which hang over my...
Are those the ones you nicked from the guy in a coma?
No. They weren't World Cup final tickets, they were just sort of England games.
Which you still got those?
Sorry?
Have you still got those?
No, very much doubt it, because they weren't on a lanyard. They were just tickets you handed in when you went through the turnstiles, you know what I mean? And for instance, I've got how many, I don't know, probably hundreds, if not thousands of football programmes, in various parts of the house, drawers and cupboards and all that kind of stuff. And
why are you telling me all this?
Well, because you asked me if my house was a museum, and as I said,
no, I did not
it's a
ask
very
you if
interesting house.
No, I did not ask you if it was a museum. You volunteered that it was a museum.
No, I didn't.
I said it's more like a mausoleum.
No, but it's a stupid joke, you see.
And I don't understand why you've got a book on a bedside table you don't read in bed.
Well, it looks good. It's like a...
But nobody comes to see it. There's nobody there.
Well, it doesn't
it's
matter.
Like you're living in this world where, just in case somebody comes round, you want to make it look nice, in case they can be impressed. But then there's nobody coming there.
It's not to impress anybody. I like the feel of the room. It makes it congruous, makes the room congruous. To have a book on your bedside table.
Really?
Yes. I might change it, actually, because it's been there quite a long time.
Yeah, like 10 years.
Yeah, something like that, yeah. That's probably about right.
Whether they're first past the post at Cheltenham or in off the post at the Berlin ground, whether they're scrumming down at Twickenham or throwing arrows at the O2. Whether they're teeing off at Augusta or stopping for tea at Old Trafford, get closer to the action with all the latest form and odds from Betway's betting expert every weekend on the Weekend Sports Breakfast. Saturday and Sunday mornings from 7 on Talk Sport with Betway. Get closer to the action with Betway.
If you drive a company car, there are some things you need. Exceptional fuel consumption, low CO2 emissions, so you pay less benefit-in-kind tax, business navigation included as standard. And then, there are some things you want. Striking aesthetics, sportline styling, star-spoke alloy wheels, sport leather seats. What you want can sometimes be what you need. The new BMW 320d ED Sport. Request a test drive at your local BMW centre.
Landlords. Direct Line guaranteed to beat any quote for the same cover. Can your landlord insurance do that? Search Direct Line Landlord. New customers only. Qualifying criteria apply. Underwritten by UK Insurance Limited.
Life is exciting.
Life is rewarding.
Now imagine your life enhanced with boundless opportunities.
A life where elite training gives you the edge.
Where travel and adventure are yours for the taking.
With roles from anti-piracy to counterintelligence. This is a life where you can realise your potential.
A life where you can make a difference.
All for as little as 24 fully paid days a year. Experience our way of life at Royal Naval Reserve Live. To find out about events in your area, search Navy Reserves.
This is Talk Sport. I'm Mike Graham. He is, of course, Mike Parry. We are the two Mikes. There will be a podcast coming out. Amazing people have responded to that picture of the blue Rolls Royce outside of Lewis, saying, actually, if you look more closely, it looks like a modern picture because the Audi car on the right and the clothes suggest more recent times, says Mark.
Yeah.
So a couple of other people have said that as well. It may well be. I'll have to have a closer look at it, but it's certainly the old Corniche that he used to own
Well, maybe
years
he's
and
still
years
got
ago.
it.
No, I don't think so. I'd be amazed.
I mean, to be honest, that's a vintage car now and still a very good car because Rolls-Royces were meant to last. So, for all you know, he might have it.
Yeah, very possibly so. Now, here's one from Peter. Now, maybe you can answer this one.
Yes.
I can answer it, but I'd like you to. Was Alf Garnett the English equivalent to Archie Bunker? As an American, I'm not familiar with Till Death Us Do Part, but it sounds like a great show.
Sorry, is that from an American guy?
From an American
guy,
yeah.
I suppose it was a bit like Archie Bunker, wasn't it?
Well, it was. Archie Bunker was the American offshoot.
American version
of it. It was called All in the Family.
That's right,
And basically Johnny Spate wrote that as well for an American audience.
I didn't realise he wrote that as well.
Yeah. He was certainly the consultant.
I was going to say, did he manage to capture the American sort of psyche?
Well, he did,
on those sort of things.
He did, yeah. And I mean, it was a very popular show in America as well. Now, here's one on the phone scenario.
Yes.
Daniel says this: I believe it's the people that read in bed using their mobile devices rather than a traditional book that is supposed to be aimed at.
Yes.
The screen filter would work for screens such as mobile phones and tablets, as these are the type of devices that produce blue light.
Right, okay.
And Bob in Sheffield says, leaving a mobile on charge overnight is dangerous. It could burst into flames.
No, it doesn't. I don't leave it on overnight. It's on a timer, which times it for an hour or two until it's timed up, and then it switches it off. Yeah.
Well, you've got a charger that times it.
Yeah, you have to have, otherwise you boil it.
That sounds very boil it. Well, everything gets boiled in your house.
Yeah,
I mean, that sounds like a very dangerous thing to have. I mean, considering you're not very well up on electronic devices.
Who told you that?
Well, everybody knows that.
No, I don't think so.
Well, that's just. Well, why is it that you've suddenly got the only?
It's just some myth that you put around. You know what I mean?
Well, it's the only timed charger I've ever heard of. I can't imagine why you would have one.
Well, I have got one, OK? That's all you need to know. You get it installed, somebody puts it in for you, teach you how to work it, and then you do it, OK?
Here's one from John who says,
yes?
Porky's penthouse is full of books, probably the millions of 1p Rooney Tunes copies that remain unsold.
Oh, how funny is that?
Well, that's from a listener. It's not from me.
Don't you know there are millions of books on eBay which go out for 1p because that's what they do. It's nothing to do with my book
being just rubbish.
Being alone. No, it's nothing to do with that at all. It's a great book. People love it. They admire it. No problem at all.
Yeah, okay.
Now, I want to tell you about... we're talking about modes of transport with your Rolls-Royce Corniche, OK? Now, we've talked in the last couple of weeks about the hoverboards.
Yes.
Now they're bursting into flames.
Hoverboards?
Yes.
Well, they're not really hoverboards, are they?
Yeah, they are. They are.
You're talking about these things that have been banned?
Yeah.
But they're not actual hoverboards, are they?
They're called hoverboard. They're called a hoverboard, right?
Are you sure?
Right. It's expected to be the must-have gadget for Christmas, OK? Doesn't matter that they've been banned from the streets. People are still going to buy them. They're going to use them, wherever they... Well, no. They're going to sort of use them almost like skateboards in public areas and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, but I thought that's where they've been banned from.
Well... excuse me, apparently
mind you, if the police aren't going to be able to arrest people for smoking in their car with children, how are they going to arrest all these characters on these boards?
But anyway, look, it's just been discovered they've been branded a fire risk. In High Wycombe, a woman was taken to hospital after a self-balancing scooter, which is what they're officially entitled as, or known as, caught fire.
Yeah.
And apparently the London Fire Brigade have issued a warning.
Is that the charging device that makes it go on fire then?
I don't know. I don't think so. They don't have a charging device when you're on it, do you?
No.
London Fire Brigade issued a warning.
So it went on fire when she was on it?
Yes, it went on fire when she was on it. London Fire Brigade issued a warning after 2 fires caused by scooters, including one in Southwark, which is a borough south of the River Thames.
Where we currently sit.
Required 4 fire engines and 21 firefighters.
What?
Yeah, 4 fire engines and 21 firefighters attended a blaze started by a hoverboard.
Well, it must have been in a house then.
Hey?
It must have been in a house.
No, it doesn't say that.
If a hoverboard, as you're calling it incorrectly, goes on fire in the street, why would you need 4 fire engines?
Yeah.
The thing burns up, that's the end of it.
In another incident, a man had to flee his house, a first-floor flat, after his electric hoverboard caught fire while its batteries were being charged.
See, it's a charging problem.
How about that?
Because you know why? Because it comes from China,
yes.
And there's no fuse, apparently, in some of the stuff that comes from China. So if you leave it on charge for too long, this is why you've got to be careful with your phone.
Right.
That could be a problem.
Right, it says here...
you wouldn't need 4 fire engines for a fire in the street of effectively an electric scooter.
Well, I don't know. It says...
Well, I do.
It says, very recently, 100 boards were intercepted where we're going, Glasgow.
Oh, yeah.
At Glasgow Airport, only concerns over fire risks, popularity of the boards, which are legal to use only on private land,
That's what I said.
has soared as people aim to ride the pavements like old Marty McFly in the film Back to the Future Part 2, which, of course, has become very popular recently because of the centenary of it.
Yeah, that's right. Well, it wasn't centenary, it was just the date that he supposedly went to the future from.
Yeah.
Back to the Future.
Now, it says the self-balancing scooters are deemed too unsafe to ride on the road or pavement.
They're not actual hoverboards, are they?
Well, they call them hoverboards.
I mean, you know, in the movie where he just, basically what you do is you throw the thing down and then it hovers about, 7 inches from the ground. These things don't do that, do they?
No, but they look as though they're hovering because they've got little wheels on either side, so that's why people call them. Now, one guy in Kent has had to pay £25,000 after his device caught fire and destroyed the kitchen.
See, all of these things are to do with the charging of them.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
So that's what I told you.
Yes, that's right, yeah. Well, I mean, it looks...
Stop being so gullible.
I think what's happening, it says some versions of the gadgets, which are mostly made in China, can overheat and catch fire while charging. Fire services said last month, and there was a BBC watchdog investigation, found that many boards came with chargers which did not fit British main sockets, and the plugs did not have fuses.
That's what I just told you.
Right, OK. Well, look,
so you don't need to read all this stuff out.
Pretty dangerous, anyway. Yeah. And if I was going to advise anybody around here, I'd say steer clear of them.
Yeah,
you know?
I steer clear of charging your phone overnight as well.
Yeah.
Now, Daniel has texted in again to 81089, saying the hoverboards are called Segways. I don't think they are called Segways.
No, they're not. The Segways are on your stand else. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, that's not true at all.
Yeah.
Right, now then, I'm not sure if it's very appropriate to have a winners and losers in the show tonight, you know. I'm worried about the situation in France.
Yeah,
where,
well, I think the thing about the situation in France is that, obviously it's a terrible scenario.
Yes.
There is this cancelled game tonight in Belgium for obvious reasons due to security matters.
Exactly.
But I think we can have winners and losers, which is purely sports-based and nothing to do with what went on at the weekend. Because I think, by the way, that we do have, unfortunately, as many people have said, life does have to go on.
Oh, of course it does.
A lot of people
have totally accept that.
A lot of people have said, it's great that the England-France game's going ahead.
Yes.
Because to cancel it would be to cave into the terrorists.
Yes, no, I totally agree.
And obviously you have to weigh up, safety of people against, many, many other things.
Yes.
But if we can safeguard the people and the players and everything else tonight at Wembley, then obviously it should go ahead.
Yes.
And so I think if that can go ahead, then I think winners and losers can go ahead. That would be my argument.
OK, well, I will accept that, and we will, of course, have a normal winners and losers, no problem.
As long as you've got so. You're not just saying that because you haven't got any, are you?
No, of course not. I've been working on it all weekend.
Have you?
Well, not all weekend, but I mean, since it became clear that we needed some nominees, I've got my nominations, so it's no problem at all.
Well, what we'll be doing, of course, once again, is putting out this old Twitter poll, and what I'll do is I'll do what I did last week, pin it to the top of the Two Mics page.
Yes, that would be great.
Vote.
And will you pin it properly this time so it stays there?
No, I did it last time.
You didn't.
It was pinned there until Thursday.
No, I'm sorry, I don't accept that.
Well, you don't have to accept it. It's either the truth or not the truth.
Yeah, well, exactly.
And that's something I know that you struggle with from time to time.
No, I don't struggle with it at all.
We'll give you an update as well on the Houston-Cincinnati game that's still ongoing.
Oh,
at the moment.
we're all thrilled with that one.
A lot of people.
Cincinnati. Nobody knows where Cincinnati is, you know.
Yeah, they do.
No, they don't.
Do you know where it is?
No.
Why not?
I don't care.
Did you ever see the Cincinnati Kid?
Cincinnati Kid. Was he a boxer?
No.
What was he?
He was a snooker player, wasn't he?
A pool player.
Yeah.
Maybe. No, I'm not. To be honest, if you asked me to put Cincinnati on the map of America...
There's also the Cincinnati Masters, which is one of the big tennis tournaments on the tour.
So where is Cincinnati?
Cincinnati's in Ohio.
Ohio.
Yeah.
So that's up northeast.
Well, it's kind of central north.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Okay,
How long did you live in America for?
Oh, a few years, 3, 4, something like that.
And you never knew where Cincinnati was?
Well, I never really wanted to go to Cincinnati, it didn't interest me. I like to go to the big glamorous places, Chicago, San Francisco, L.A., Santa Monica, New York, Washington, Baltimore, Philadelphia.
Glamorous. Philadelphia, glamorous. Are you sure?
Yeah. Miami, all those places.
Yeah, well,
Fort Worth, Dallas.
If you're a proper journalist, you'd have gone wherever you were sent.
Yeah, well, I did, mate. Don't worry about that.
This is Talk Sport. We are the Two Mics. Loads more coming up.
On DAB Digital Radio and 1089 and 1053 AM.
A terrific performance.
Turn of pace and eye for goal.
Shout about it.
Talk Sport.
You ever been to an El Clasico game?
No.
I have.
Have you?
Yeah.
Enjoy it?
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, okay.
Amazing.
Even though you have no allegiance to one team or the other.
Doesn't matter.
You see, I couldn't go to a game like that.
Why
I
not?
couldn't go to a game where I've no
Well, you've
allegiance.
never gone to a game which is like the Champions League final and
Yes.
enjoyed it?
Yes, I have. Yeah, but only for the occasion that, it was the Champions League
Well, El
final.
Clasico is the same thing.
No, you don't understand.
I mean, when you want to see, Iniesta play, or you want to see
Yeah.
Ronaldo play,
Yeah.
you want to see Lionel Messi play,
Yeah.
you want to see them playing against each other, don't
No,
you?
you don't understand. If I go to a
Sergio
Champions League,
Ramos.
I've been to 4 Champions League finals,
Yeah.
right? And in each one, an English team has played.
Right.
And so you have an interest if it's an English team against a continental team,
Yeah.
because I would always
Well,
want
when I
the
went to
English
see
team
Barcelona
to win.
Real Madrid,
Yes.
I was very much sort of, at that time, a Barcelona kind of aficionado, if you
Oh,
like.
why? You're a rebel against the Spanish royal family, were you?
Not particularly, no, but I just liked the way they played football at
Yeah.
that particular time.
I
It was
see,
about
yeah.
4 years ago.
Yeah.
And it was a fantastic game to
Yeah,
watch.
yeah.
It was the game, actually, where Jose Mourinho poked his finger in the eye of Villanova, who later became the Barcelona manager. Remember that?
Oh, yes, I do, yeah, when he leaned over and started
Well,
poking
it was at
him
the
in
end of the
head.
game. It was quite a bad-natured game.
Yes. I
And one of
remember
the
all
things that was amazing, it was just an experience as well to go and see football. I mean, I've always thought it's a good thing to go to a foreign country and watch them watching a football match
Yes.
in their own kind of culture,
Yes.
rather than, say, for example, an English team playing them. It's good to see 2 Spanish teams playing.
Yeah, but you don't understand Spanish.
Doesn't matter.
You don't know anything about Spanish culture.
Well, it's not a question of that. The
nearest thing you've got to any affinity with Spain is that you like stuffing your face full of those things that they have in those Spanish food shops. What are they called?
Spanish food shops?
Yeah.
Which Spanish food shops?
Oh, there's like dipper things. What are they called?
Tapas.
Tapas, that's it, tapas. Yeah.
Tapas is great, yeah.
Tapas.
Nothing wrong with tapas.
Well, I'm
Nothing
not
wrong with
sure about
paella.
Paella, is it? Paella, yeah. There's no meat in paella, is there?
Yeah, there is.
No, it's usually like...
it's got chorizo in it.
No, it's got crabs and things in it.
No, it's got chorizo.
Shrimps. It's got shrimps, a lot of shrimps in it.
It's got quite a lot of seafood. It usually has chicken as well.
Oh, chicken as well.
And, of
yeah,
course,
I'm
it
not
has
sure about
chorizo.
Now, do you know what the new miracle food is, talking about all that?
No.
Jelly.
Jelly?
Jelly's a new miracle food. I'm eating it avidly at the moment.
Are you?
Yeah.
It's the sort of thing you would eat.
Why?
It's the sort of thing you would love, because it's kind of comes out of a packet. You just add water, and Bob's your uncle. It's the kind of food you would eat all the time.
It's brilliantly easy to make. You unwrap it from your packet.
Yeah.
And you've got cardboard on the outside.
Yeah.
And you've got cellophane on the inside.
Yeah.
You take it out, and it's in blocks and cubes.
Yeah.
And it feels really nice in your hands. You know
Do you
what I
like
mean?
jelly then? You like the feel of it?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do. And then you put it in a Pyrex bowl.
Yeah.
And then you boil the kettle and put the water over it.
That's what I mean. And you think this is cooking, don't you?
Hang on, you stir it around, and then you let it set for about 15 minutes.
Do you put it straight in the fridge, or do
No,
you let it cool first?
No. You let it cool first for about 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Then you put it in the fridge, right?
And what's your preferred flavour?
Strawberry jelly.
Strawberry?
Yeah, I love strawberry jelly.
Oh,
yeah,
not lime?
I don't like green jelly.
You
no,
don't
I don't
like green?
No. And
you are literally like a 10-year-old.
No, don't.
Yeah, you are.
What's wrong with liking jelly?
There's nothing wrong with liking it, but it's the enthusiasm with which you describe making it.
I think it's brilliant. I think it's absolutely brilliant. And then
Do you have ice cream with it as well?
I do sometimes have ice cream with it, but if I haven't got ice cream, I have carnation milk with it, which is brilliant. What are you laughing at?
It's amazing.
Why?
I'm just amazed that
I think
somebody
carnation milk's
of
lovely.
your sort of I don't know, experience in life.
Yes.
And, relative sophistication.
Yes.
If you don't mind me saying so.
Yes.
Even though I make fun of you.
Yeah.
Well-travelled.
Yeah.
Reasonably educated.
Yes.
Yet so excited about eating carnation milk and jelly like it's
I
some
think it's
kind of
great.
special treat because you've been on war rations for 20 years.
No, not at all. Can I tell you, I have read about the absolutely wonderful qualities that jelly's got.
Well,
For
what
instance,
have they suddenly discovered about jelly that they didn't know?
Well, I did a study of it before I started eating it. Now, gelatine contains amino acids, proline and glycine, okay? And they're the building blocks of cartilage.
Oh, yeah.
They keep your cartilage in shape. It's also packed with calcium, magnesium, phosphorus, silicon and sulphur. And
that doesn't
all
sound good.
Yeah, it all works to...
Sulphur?
Yeah.
You know you eat anything with sulphur in it, do you?
Yeah, it all goes to strengthen your bones. Now, not only that, but did you know that jelly is recommended for people with heart problems?
Is
and
it?
of course, I've got a heart problem.
Of course you have.
Because only 1/3 of my heart works.
So you keep saying.
And it's if you add a bit of jelly instead of a bit of steak, it can help you out. Do you know why?
Why?
Gelatine's amino acids include glycine and proline, which I just told you, yeah.
Do you remember during the CJD crisis, though? Lots of things that we didn't realise contained all manner of animal sort of fats and
That's right, yeah.
and various things like that. One of them was jelly.
One of them was jelly. One of them was jelly.
Because that's like, I mean, if you look at, say, for example, certain joints of meat,
yes,
you get jelly along with them, don't you?
Yes, that's right. Yeah, but too much homocysteine, and you get hardening of the homocysteine, which is in steak.
Right.
Too much of that, and you get hardening of your arteries. Okay, but a warm stew full of gelatine is better for your heart. So you should put jelly in your stew.
Jelly
literally.
in the stew?
Yeah,
No.
literally.
No, I'm not convinced. Who's coming out with all this stuff?
Well, I've
Jelly Company of Great Britain.
No, I've been reading it from my medical journals, haven't I? Okay.
Well, I mean, is there any particular doctors
It
group
protects the
that's saying
skin.
this?
It protects the skin. As you get older, you lose collagen. It's the main reason why skin starts to look wrinkled, okay?
Yeah.
So you eat jelly, that gets rid of that. Collagen-rich face creams are, big business around the world. So if you eat jelly, you're doing well. You get shiny hair and strong nails. You lose weight.
Yeah.
And it's a great way to fight allergies.
Really?
It also banishes cellulite in your body.
But
So it's like a miracle food.
I still want to know who's telling you this.
No, I've done the research on it. It's like a miracle food.
No, but it's like you coming out and saying,
Yes.
I've got this great sort of new opinion that I'm going to promote because it's an opinion worth listening to.
Yeah.
I need to know who the opinion is from in order to gauge how important it is.
Well, it's my opinion after doing my research, isn't it?
So you've decided it's a miracle food?
Well, I've looked at the
in which case, I'm going to dismiss it altogether.
No, don't be silly. I've looked at the what's the word I'm looking for? The qualities that jelly has, and decided it's very, very good for you. And if you knew, if you were able to assess things a little bit more in your own head without, taking. You see, the trouble with you is, Mike, that I'm a leader and you're a follower.
No,
and when you're a follower,
no, you are the most gullible man I know of your age.
No, when you're a follower,
you read things and believe them.
You get caught up all the time.
So
you know
what
I mean?
So how often do you eat this jelly then?
I have about 2 bowls of that a week now. I think it's lovely. What's your problem? What's your problem?
It's pathetic.
Why?
You really think that's good for you?
You
Two bowls of jelly a week.
See, I don't know why you can sit there and just make fun of somebody who does things that you don't do in life. I mean, I don't smoke.
I'm not making fun of you because you do things that I don't do. I'm making fun of you because you live like a 10-year-old. You eat the food that a 10-year-old would eat, and you love it.
I'd rather eat 2 bowls of jelly a week than smoke 50 cigarettes a day.
Fine.
Right?
You didn't mind smoking a couple the other night, though, did you?
No, I didn't smoke any.
You did?
I did not.
You certainly did.
You did not see me with a cigarette in my mouth
I certainly
at all.
did.
You certainly did not.
Somebody looked very like you.
I think you must withdraw that statement. Even if I did, even though I was tempted after a glass or two, I do not smoke 50 a day and therefore put my health at risk and land the National Health Service with a huge bill.
You've already landed the National Health Service with a bigger bill than I could ever do. With all that, lying about for 9 months on end in a hospital.
That wasn't my fault. My father gave me that before he died.
But you've still used far more taxpayers' money than I ever will.
Well, I didn't do it deliberately, whereas you're deliberately sticking cigarettes in your mouth to disimprove your health.
I'm not costing the NHS any money.
You should be ashamed of yourself.
I'm not costing the NHS any money.
In fact, when you're gasping on your deathbed,
a doctor.
You need oxygen and all that kind of stuff. Don't expect me to have any sympathy for you, okay?
Gav says this on 81089.
Gav?
What's the difference between Porky and one of his big bowls of jelly? Answer the bowl. Very good.
No, it's not even funny, that. You found that funny because it was directed against me.
Well, everything's directed against you tonight. I don't know why.
Yeah, I don't know why
because nobody believes a word you say.
Pathetic.
That's the trouble.
I say pathetic.
That is the problem.
Yeah.
Paul says this. Traditionally, the meat that goes in paella is rabbit. That's also rubbish. It depends on the region of Spain, I think you'll find. This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics, and winners and losers is coming up next.
UEFA Champions League football live on Talk Sport. Get set for another season of exhilarating European football action. Come on! Featuring full match commentaries of all the Premier League teams in action and updates and goal flashes as they hit the back of the net.
Champions of Europe again.
Plus full-on post-match phone-ins following all the action. UEFA Champions League football live on Talk Sport with Direct Line. For 5-star rated van insurance, search Direct Line Van.
This is the unique go-kart feeling of a turbocharged Mini Cooper 3-door hatch. And this is how it feels knowing that you got it for just £189 a month plus initial rental. Book a test drive at your nearest mini centre or mini.co.uk/turbo. 48-month hire agreement from Mini Financial Services, £2,399 initial rental. Subject to status, guarantees may be required. Available for new vehicles ordered by 31st of December and registered by 31st of March. Participating retailers only. Mileage and other conditions apply when you return the vehicle. Visit mini.co.uk/turbo.
Need meat? Got dry cleaning? Get it all at Clean Cuts, dry cleaners and butchers.
What? In business, being focused pays. Same goes for your bank. Allied Irish Bank GB is single-minded. We specialise in offering owner-managed businesses all the banking they need. So, for a bank as focused as you, visit aibgb.co.uk. Allied Irish Bank GB, the single-minded business bank. Allied Irish Bank GB is a trademark used under licence by AIB Group UK plc, a wholly owned subsidiary of Allied Irish Banks plc.
Asper Super Casino Westfield welcomes over 1.5 million visitors every year.
It's London's only super casino with over 150 slot machines.
A huge 400-seat poker room.
2 bars, free live music and a big sports screen.
We're membership free.
And we're open 24/7. Asper's Casino at Westfield Stratford. So that's why they call it Super. Terms apply. Details at asperstratford.co.uk. Over 18s, play responsibly, gambleaware.co.uk.
And now it's time for winners and losers. This is Talk Sport. We are the two Mikes, and it is that time of the week when we do winners and losers. Now, the current score, Mr. Parry, is 9-3 to me, right? We've got this
you keep saying that, but we've got a new voting system now, so it should be changed.
Well, you'd rather make it 1-0 instead of 9-3.
No.
Now, I did say to you last week, because you lost last week in the first new voting system,
very narrowly.
If you wanted, I could put your name first above mine. So
I think you should.
I've done that this week.
I think you should.
Now, would you like to go first or second? Change that around as well. I mean, I give you every advantage, and you still lose.
Now, which ones do we give first, the winners or the losers?
Well, we've just heard even the losers there by Tom Petty. So
right, the losers.
The losers first.
OK, I'll do losers first.
All right, then.
OK.
So if you do losers first, should I do winners first?
Yes, OK.
All right, then let's hear your 3 losers.
Right, my 3 losers. First of all, Cesc Fabregas.
Oh, yeah.
Because he's admitted he's now losing sleep over Chelsea's form, OK? He says, I have sleepless nights. Yeah. I mean, that is pathetic. You know, I've got a lot of respect for Cesc Fabregas. He's a great footballer and all that. But when you start losing sleep because you're part of a team that's losing, you shouldn't be losing sleep. You should be doing something about the losing streak.
Yeah.
So I think Cesc Fabregas is failing there, failing his teammates. He's obviously not fit enough to play football. If he's losing sleep, he's a loser. My second loser is Nico Rosberg.
Oh, yeah.
And do you know why?
Why?
Because he's winning, but he's still a loser.
How's he a loser if he's won?
He's a loser because he's not going to win. The point is he didn't win when he should have been winning. He's now winning when it's no good winning because he's going to be a loser because his teammate Lewis Hamilton has already won the Formula 1 World Championship and Nico Rosberg can't win it. Even though he's winning, he's going to end up as a loser. That's why he's a mega loser, OK?
So that sounds incredibly ridiculous.
No,
because they're both in the same team, right?
He's winning, but he's going to end up a loser.
They're both in the same team, right?
Yes.
And the team will win the Constructors' Championship.
No, he's a loser. He's not going to be the World Formula 1 racing champion.
His team is going to be the team champion.
I don't care. He individually will not be. And of the two of them, one is a winner. That's Lewis Hamilton. So by definition, Rosberg is a loser. And my third loser, and it's a little bit cruel, this, and a bit harsh, and I want to apologise for nominating her, but I'm afraid it's just come to pass. Victoria Pendleton is associated with Holfords, the cycle people, OK? They've suffered a dip in bicycle sales. They obviously had her as an ambassador because of her outstanding success in the Olympics
Maybe
as
people
a
have
top
just been
cyclist.
listening to you and decided that biking is not the future.
Well, what I'm saying is, although I think she's a wonderful woman and she's now transferred from riding a bike to riding horses and doing extremely well in that, on this particular occasion to be associated with a dip in the sales of bicycles, which of course is what she became famous for, I'm sorry makes her a loser, but
why
happily...
are you apologising to her but not to the two men that you've made losers?
But happily...
Why are you apologising to her?
Because I'm a gentleman. But happily...
Sounds sexist to me.
Happily, it's a losing situation, which I support. I support this losing situation.
So you're glad they're losers?
Because I want less cyclists on the road because they mess up traffic and don't pay anything for the huge amounts of money we spend on giving them cycle lanes. Right. There's my 3 losers. I say to you, they're pretty strong nominations.
Well, they do make it a bit more sense than the ones last week.
No, they're all nominations.
Well, I'm going to say not Nico Rosberg is a loser, but Formula 1 right now is a loser because that dull, awful, mundane race that took place in Brazil over the weekend was so bad that even Lewis Hamilton and Sebastian Vettel have now come out and said, we need to shape up the way that Formula One is done, and we need to sharpen up the car designs. We have to turn more races into more excitement. Because let's face it, I mean, that was a boring race. Lewis Hamilton's already won the title anyway.
That's what I'm saying.
Of course, hang on, and so the next one, which is in Bahrain, nobody's going to watch it.
Well,
it's going to be an absolute waste of time.
You're backing up exactly what I said. Nico Rosberg is a loser because he's winning and he's still going to be a loser.
No, I'm saying Formula One is the loser.
Too broad a subject.
Because Lewis Hamilton and Sebastian Vettel, two of the finest drivers Formula One has ever seen, are now taking a stand and saying this is bad news. And also, I'll tell you what else is wrong, is that when they have the final in the final race in Bahrain, whoever wins it, they come out with this fake champagne because they're not allowed to have alcohol in Bahrain.
Exactly.
So, I mean, what is the point of that? That is ludicrous. Now, my second big loser of the weekend is Ronda Rousey. Ronda Rousey, of course, is one of probably the most famous female UFC fighter that anybody has ever heard of in their life.
No, nobody's ever heard of her.
No, loads of people have heard of her because she's also an actress. She's a very, very big celebrity
That's pathetic.
in the United States and all over the world. She lost in a bout down in Melbourne, Australia, to somebody called Holly Holm, who was only
nobody else
ranked,
has ever heard of.
No, everybody's heard of Holly Holm now because she was ranked 8th and was not supposed to have any chance
That's
whatsoever.
Not exactly
of beating Ronda Rousey.
She's no champion,
Ronda
is
Rousey.
she?
You've never heard of Ronda Rousey because you just don't know about anything that's going on outside of your own little world.
Mate, 99% of our millions of listeners have never heard of Ronda Rousey, or whatever her name is.
Ronda Rousey. Well, you're wrong about that, and that's why she's my second loser. And my third loser of the weekend is Roy Hodgson, because, of course, partly because of things that happened over the weekend, there was very little analysis done of England's game against Spain, which, by the way, your other loser, Cesc Fabregas, played very well in, so that means your loser for him is even more down the gurgler. But basically, Roy Hodgson talked an awful lot about, having this experimental formation with Ross Barkley, Harry Kane, and all of this interesting stuff that was going to happen.
Yes.
And guess what? It was the same old, same old. England got slaughtered, and the final result was 2-0.
Yes.
So Roy Hodgson goes into this game tonight to play against France. Obviously, there's much
You've
more.
had him as a loser many times before.
More. Well, he's a loser because he lost to Spain and didn't look like he'd done anything to make England improve whatsoever since the World Cup final.
Not very original, that,
That's very original. Those are my three losers. Let's have the winners.
Everyone's a winner, baby. That's no lie. That's no lie. You never fail to satisfy.
Now, it's my turn to go first on this one, right?
Yes, it is.
And what I'm going to say is that the first winner that I have is Steve McNamara. Do you know who Steve McNamara is? And don't say he's the leader of the band.
I was going to say, my name is McNamara, I'm the leader of the band.
Yeah. Well, he's not. He's actually the coach of the rugby league team for England, which is the first sort of thing to be proud of for an England fan, because they beat New Zealand in a series which hasn't been done, I think, for many, many a year. I think it was last done in something like 2007.
Nobody's read about that,
What do you mean nobody's read about it?
Nobody cares.
Well, no, rugby league is a very big sport in this country, and it's a huge sport down under in Australia and New Zealand. And basically, Steve McNamara has managed to beat New Zealand, who were generally thought to be the favourites. They got a 2-1 series win, the final game 2014 at the DW Stadium. And so I think it's time to actually recognise what a good rugby league team that we have in this country, particularly given the rugby union team are absolutely useless, and particularly given that the football team are just about as useless as well. So I just wanted to take that one on board. My second winner of the weekend is a story that you may not know anything about. It's a guy by the name of James Bittner. Ever heard of James Bittner?
No, never heard of him either.
Now, he's a goalkeeper, right, who finally made his first start in the Football League on Saturday.
Yes.
He's been second or third choice at a whole host of league clubs. He finally got his chance to play for Plymouth Argyle, who beat York City by 2-1. Do you know how many days and how many games he was on the bench for?
No.
4,991 days and 86 games that he sat out and never got a game. And he finally now got one, and he started with 3 points, and he's hopeful that, he's now going to have a burgeoning career in the Football League. And I think we should congratulate him.
Shouldn't you have nominated him as a loser?
Why?
Well, 4,000 days on a bench, and you think he's a winner?
Well, because he's finally got to play a game.
Good
4,991.
Pathetic.
And my final winner of the weekend is going to be the Premier League.
The Premier League?
The Premier League.
What, the nebulous Premier League, who didn't even play at the weekend?
The Premier League. Well, you know why?
Why?
Because Cristiano Ronaldo wants to come back and play in it, and it looks like he's going to be playing his final year in Real Madrid, and so there's a very good chance.
And who's he going to come back and join?
I think he'll come back and play for Manchester United.
Utter rubbish.
And then Lionel Messi, although people are saying it's going to cost $600,000 a week, I don't think that's a prohibitive amount of money to bring him back. So it could be that in the next season we see Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo playing in the Premier League, which I think would be a fantastic thing.
I think they're the worst three you've ever nominated.
Well, we'll find out what the listeners think. What are your three then?
Well, my three.
Have you got any fictitious characters this week?
No,
or
any
goods, any supermarket goods?
No, mine are absolutely fantastic, okay?
Right.
The first one is Jonathan Walters, the boy who scored 2 goals for Ireland tonight and secured their place in the Euro finals.
Yeah.
That's got to be an obvious one. I thought you'd have
well, Ireland's way too obvious.
Well, it's not too obvious at all, and it's wonderful. The second is Jeremy Vine, because Jeremy Vine, although
he's your mate.
That's irrelevant.
He's your mate.
Jeremy Vine has been booted off.
Are you hoping to get on the show this week again?
No.
So, look, Jeremy, I nominated you in Winners and Losers.
No, that's a bit harsh. He's been booted off strictly, but he was, as everybody will agree, a ray of sunshine in that programme, because although he was a bit too left-footed, he brought joy and enlightenment to people at a very dark time.
Yeah.
And my third one, and I make no apologies here for going serious, OK?
Yeah.
And we're going to end this competition on a serious note because of the horror and the terror we've experienced. My third one is Claude Joseph Rouget de Lille, who is the man who wrote the Marseillaise, which is the French national anthem, which I will be joining in singing tomorrow night when I'm watching the England game on television in support of the French nation and the French people. They're my 3 nominations. I make no apology for finishing on a serious one. It's a serious subject.
It is a serious subject, and that's a very good note to finish on. Those are the winners and losers. If you go to the Two Mikes Twitter account, you will see there a pinned voting system, which will be staying at the top of the Two Mikes account for the rest of the voting period, which is until midnight tonight, basically. It will actually, the vote actually stays open technically for 23 more hours, but we'll close it at midnight tonight, and we will give you the result when we get it at the start of the show tomorrow morning. This is TalkSport.
For the perfect match, embrace the power within.
It's not a wind-up.
TalkSport.
Jamaica, ooh, I wanna take you to Bermuda, Bahamas, come on, pretty mama, Key Largo, Montego, baby, why don't we go?
This is TalkSport. We are the Two Mikes. There will be a podcast coming out a little bit later. Lots of response on the winners and losers scenarios. Here's one from Roy, who says, if Formula One wants to be exciting again, put them in modern versions of the cars Jackie Stewart and Graham Hill used to drive. Well, technically, I would say that that's what they have done.
Yeah, they have,
they are modern versions of the cars that those guys used to drive, but unfortunately, they're so modern that they're not very exciting.
Very much so.
Joshua says, Porky, no one has heard of Ronda Rousey. You, my friend, have just lost this competition just from saying that. Hashtag big loser.
Funny enough, Philifan Carl says, Oi, Parry, you're talking absolute rubbish. Ronda Rousey is the best women's UFC fighter in the world. We're all equal. Well, I'm sorry, but I've never heard of her because, A, I think UFC fighting is all a myth. All you do is get two people... Well, you get two people rolling around on the floor. They don't actually fight.
That doesn't make it a myth.
They don't actually fight.
Well, yeah, but that doesn't make it a myth.
And then women's cage fighting is even more ridiculous than men's cage fighting, in my view, because it is something which is supposed to exist on, pure strength and dynamism and all that. And if a woman fought a man, she'd get massacred because of the physical difference between a man and a woman. It's nonsense.
If Ronda Rousey fought you, you'd be back in hospital.
I don't think so, pal.
Yeah, I think so.
I don't think
Frazzle says, nobody cares. So says a supposedly avid rugby league fan. That was about you dismissing my England vote for
I certainly will. And one here, this is William. He explains perfectly. UFC women bashing the brains out of each other. That's supposed to be a sport. I call it barbaric. So that's William.
But he doesn't mind. But he doesn't mind men doing it.
excuse
so
me.
he's a bit of a sexist.
Putting down your...
so he's a bit of a sexist.
Not at all. He doesn't mention men at all.
No, but
he says it's barbaric.
he doesn't object to men fighting.
And he's putting down your nomination as being irrelevant, right?
Well, should we have a quick look at the vote and see how
Let's
it's going?
have a quick look at the votes.
Oh, look, it's very close. 59% to me, 41% to you.
Oh, rubbish.
That's what it says.
Rubbish. It's gerrymandered, man. My positive voters come in later when they, when
they wake up.
No. When it's dawned on them about how, how good it was. Now, here we are. This vote is cast in recognition of your recognition of the wonderful Jeremy Vine, says Leslie. Thank you. Thank you. She says he was robbed. He was the real winner. There you go, you see.
Well,
I'm on the button.
No, you're not. You're on 41% of the button, actually. But Phil says, MG gets my vote just for Ronda Rousey being a loser and also because Porky has never heard of her. And here's one from Stephen. Yes. Get yourselves to Liverpool. Best shout, MG. Great result. England against New Zealand. What a result. Yeah,
it was a great result, except, it's, I'm afraid, limited. Now then.
Patrick says,
yes.
Parry not rubbishing MG's picks might help him not get crushed in the voting.
Yeah, OK. Well, what, because you can't take criticism?
I don't mind.
Glenn says, let me see. So when old Porky was kidding over the weekend, how do you know John Walters would score 2 goals tonight? The answer to that is I had every confidence he would. I was talking to people on Clash of the Titans yesterday in this very studio, or certainly on Sunday anyway, and I said the difference will be John Walters. He'll be the boy who can do it for Ireland. If you don't believe me, go back and listen to that show.
How about this one from Daniel? I voted MG by mistake. How do I change my vote? His selections this week were terrible. Porky's winners were first class.
Thank you very much indeed.
But unfortunately, he's voted for me.
And an old Pumpty here says, I'll be voting for you, Mike. Mike Parry 8, that is. That's me. Even though your choices weren't necessarily up to standard, you're much cooler than the Blob. And the Blob is you, IROMG, OK?
Well, you see, that gives people away when they talk like that, because these are these kind of morons that are part of your tribe who will vote for you no matter what you do. What? So, to be honest, I wouldn't want their support.
You would want their support?
No.
You'd want the support of anybody who'd give you the winning vote.
The guy's just admitted that he's voting for you, even though your choices weren't very good.
No.
So what does that say about him?
Not at all. Now, listen, I want to talk to you about a new machine, which is very much relevant to us in our business, OK? Now, do you know what a stream is?
A stream?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's a sort of tributary to a river, usually.
No, not that sort of stream, you
what
fool.
What sort of stream do you mean?
This is a stream, which I'll show you a picture of it.
What, a photo stream?
No, look at that.
A stream?
That's a stream. What's it look like?
It looks like some kind of radio.
It's a digital radio, but it's not. It's a stream. Now then, get this.
What do you mean a stream?
Well, this is the very, very latest in the technology of our business.
Do you mean is that the brand name or what?
Yeah, it's the brand name.
Well, why are you giving the brand name away?
I'm not giving the brand name away.
Well, you just called it a stream repeatedly.
It's made by a company called Roberts, but it's a stream.
Like the old Roberts radio?
Yeah, the Stream 93i.
My parents had an old Roberts radio.
Did they?
Which you could now buy a replica of.
Oh, I see.
You know, it looked like it was kind of...
right.
It was encased in leather. It had a sort of a strap across the top that you could carry it.
Yes.
And it had all the tuning mechanisms across the top.
Right.
And then it had a sort of big speaker in the middle.
Right.
You must have had a Roberts radio. Everybody had one.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. We had a lot of radios in the house.
You had a lot of radios in the house.
Yeah,
I mean, you're in radio. Surely you should know if you had a Roberts radio.
Well, I don't know what sort of radio we had when I was 10.
Well, Roberts radios are famous.
Now then, here. Now, this goes on to say... right, the Roberts Stream 93i has just arrived. Yeah. It's a big black box. And Roberts, as you'll quite rightly say, is famous for revival DAB sets, OK?
Yeah, right.
Which look they've arrived via a kitsch time warp, excuse me, from the 50s. A kitsch time warp.
Kitsch?
Kitsch. Throw out the kitsch.
You said kitsch.
Kitsch. Don't you remember that advert, throw out the kitsch?
No.
It was an advert for a furniture shop.
No.
Anyway, it says the Stream 93i is much less likely than one of those radios, revival radios, to match your curtains.
Yeah.
But it has swept the board at Hi-Fi Awards, and with good reason. It sounds far bigger than any radio ever should. It offers more listening options than any sane human could ever need, and is somehow still quite easy to use.
And how much is it?
£150.
That's too expensive.
It's not?
Well, you're going to buy one, eh?
Well, I don't know. I might do. Right.
How many radios you got at home?
How many radios? What, you mean that I can have access to?
Well, no, the ones that you've locked away because you don't want to open them.
No, you idiot. No, I've got... I've got one in my main room, which comes through my TV set.
Right, so that's not a radio.
I've got one in the kitchen, which comes through the TV set.
It's also not a radio.
I've got one in the bedroom that comes through the TV set.
So that's not a radio either.
And I've got a bedside radio alarm. Right.
Radio alarm?
Yes.
Right, like a clock radio?
Yes, that's right, yes.
Well, that's probably a cheap and nasty.
In the kitchen, I've also...
So none of that... So that's not a digital radio?
In the kitchen, I've also got a fully functional long-wave radio, which I have used all over the world as a foreign correspondent, okay?
Well, you just listen to the BBC World Service and rip it off and then send the story back as if you'd written it.
Yes, usually, yes. And I've got one in the bathroom. In
the bathroom?
Yeah.
The bathroom?
Well, as opposed to my wet room.
Well,
I like to make the difference.
Why did you say the bathroom?
Because there's
You're
a
supposed to
bath
be
in
from Chester.
there.
Is that what they say in Chester?
Yes.
No, they say bath.
Now then, let me get on. It's
well, no, I don't know what's the point of this.
Because
why haven't you got a digital radio?
Hang on, it's a DAB and FM. I've got a digital radio.
Where is that one then?
That's in my other house. That's
Which
in my
other
office.
House?
In Gosport. In Gosport.
Where's your office? I thought your office was in Sutton.
I've got an office in my other place as well.
Right.
I need an office for all my
Why
gear.
do you need two offices?
Well, so that I can replicate my electronic reach.
So why have you only got one digital radio in one of the offices and not in the other?
Well, because I haven't got a fully installed Sky TV unit in my office in Gosport.
No, I see.
Okay.
So you listen to the radio there instead of through the television.
Now, it's a DAB and FM radio first. I'm still talking about the stream here, okay? Yeah. And it's also... What else is it? Let me see. Here now. Now this is how sophisticated it is, Mike. Right? This is what the point I was going to get to.
Yeah.
To make it work, you have to put your Wi-Fi password in.
Right.
Right.
So it works on Wi-Fi.
Yeah, apparently, yeah. And it's got access to literally tens of thousands of stations.
Right.
Okay.
Well, you can have that all on your computer as well, can't you?
I don't know.
Well, of course you can.
You can also choose from a huge selection of podcasts.
You can get the TuneIn app.
Well, hang on. What about podcasts? You can get our podcast on this.
Right.
Did you know that?
I didn't. So it's like a smart radio. So instead of getting smart television, you get a smart radio instead.
Now, what that means is, presumably, that people no longer have to go to their computer for our podcast. They get it straight off the stream.
Well, they don't have to go to the computer anyway. They can get it on their phone.
Eh?
You can just get it on the phone.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, you can have it literally in your living room now on the stream. Now, this is brilliant. This is a brilliant development, this, don't you think?
Well, it's not that surprising, really, considering you can get smart TVs, you can now get smart radio.
Now, listen, there's something else about this. Many people assume that the word podcast is another bit of best-ignored tech jargon. The other words that go with it are groupie.
Groupie?
Groupie.
I don't know what that is.
A group selfie.
Oh, yeah.
Or noob.
Noob?
Yeah.
What's that got to do with radio?
Noob is anyone on the internet you don't like. Did you know that?
Well, in your case, that's everyone, isn't it?
No.
You don't like anyone?
No. Now,
is that newbie? Do you not think, is it not supposed to be newbie?
No, it's noob. It's noob. Now then, also, you can access normal radio via the internet. So if Britain's politicians do ever get around to switching off FM radio, or if DAB goes out of fashion decades from now, you can still tune into the selfie, to the stream. Sorry,
Right.
the stream, yeah.
Right.
So that's pretty
that's
good.
a nice advert for Roberts, anyway.
What?
They pay you for that. They're going to send you a free one.
No.
Well, why
ridiculous.
on earth are you going on about it?
Because it's such a new modern radio.
Okay.
Now then.
Well, now, here's one. Let me read you this from Graham in Bath, who says, have you noticed how much Porky resembles Ridley Scott lately? And he also says, just bought the DVD today. And then he says, bet this doesn't get read out again. None of mine ever do.
Well,
that's not true, Graham. I just read that one.
Exactly. Just read that
and
one out.
Robin from Winchmore Hill.
Yes.
We were talking about Winchmore Hill last week. Mike Parry. I was on a diet about 20 years ago that included a lot of jelly, but had to abandon it because it eventually caused considerable constipation. So beware.
Oh, my God. Can't be having that sort of thing. But
No.
I've been eating it for quite a while now, and I haven't had any problems, I'm delighted to say.
Well, thanks for sharing that.
So there we are. Now...
currently 56% to me, 44% to you.
That'll change.
It may well do.
I
Only
think people will be very
153
impressed
votes
that I
cast.
was very, very responsible and nominated the chap who wrote the Marseillaise, which, of course, we're all going to be singing
Well, even
tomorrow
though
night.
we said we're obviously not going to do anything related to the French situation in Winners and Losers.
No, we didn't say that.
Yeah, we did.
No, we didn't. No, I don't think so. I was just being respectable to the terrible situation which has enveloped the world.
There's a
not just
guy
France and
has
Europe.
tweeted in, Jolly. He says, guys, I'm just listening to you on my 93i. Highly recommended.
What, is that the one I've just been talking about?
Yes.
Excellent. Well, I like that.
So he's already bought one.
Jolly good. That's what I'd like to hear. Right, OK, that's fine.
Now, talking of the DVD, we've still got lots of people asking about it. So
we certainly have.
Basically, go to the2mics.co.uk and you can get yourself an order placed and then get it delivered to your home.
Yes, you can.
Whether you live in the UK or whether you live overseas. We now have a mechanism for all of that. And there's been a couple of people saying they haven't got theirs yet.
Yeah.
I would think that they should still be on their way to you. And if you haven't got them, maybe by the middle of the week, what you should do is send an email to the2mics.co.uk.
Yes.
Telling us when you bought it.
And we'll chase it up.
And your address, and we'll try and chase it up and find out what's
But please don't think there's a problem, because literally hundreds, and it's run into thousands now, people have definitely got them, because we get lots of communications from people. And can I just say to you that we did do a signing, didn't we, at Birmingham after the show?
Yeah.
And we have been asked to go out and do some more this week, which we'll be telling you about a bit later, later on in the week.
Today, probably.
Later on today, that's right.
If you love the Two Mics podcast, you'll love the live show. Weekday overnights from 1am on DAB Digital Radio and 1089 and 1053 AM and via the TalkSport app. TalkSport, your Premier League station with exclusive commentaries every weekend.
What an absolute corker!
TalkSport.
Everything. Look at the light!